Ooga fucking ooga cunts, and welcome to another episode of Han Solo on the Cunt Stream. If anybody's wondering why I'm a little bit on the not that excited side, it's because if you look at the title, you'll see that we're going to be talking about Deadpool 2, specifically reactions, and Avengers 4. I'm assuming this means that we're going to be talking about what we think is going to happen in the next Avengers movie and such. And then, of course, there's that fucking abomination, Thundercats Roar, that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to need a moment to compose myself before I fucking throw my goddamn computer out the window.
Oh, God. Yeah. The freaking Thundercats Roar is just a sad state of affairs. So, how's everyone doing while I wait on him to get to a different room? Let's see. The new one looks great. Yeah. I guess if you're a fan of Steven Universe, it's got to look phenomenal. Wild Fox says that her teeth hurt. Yeah, maybe. It's very saccharine looking for cartoon style, and it's not even a good adaptation of the Cal art style, which is saying something. Outlaw Dog, you're wrong. Their arms at moments don't freaking match sizes. His one arm will get super huge and the other one will turn into a spindly little desiccated arm in the same scene. And it's not because of foreshortening or anything. It's just poorly drawn. SJWs everywhere. Yeah, I think it's more to do with just lazy animation styles everywhere. The SJW aspect just comes in the fact that they're not willing to, make a new series. I mean, at least Steven Universe is new. I'll give it that.
Oh, I don't want to blame the SJWs on this one. Although, maybe just a little bit, just because that...
Man bun.
The man bun in the background there is, he's fucking awful. He is fucking awful. So, I wouldn't exactly chalk this up to shitty SJWs taking over a beloved childhood fucking cartoon. I would chalk this up to shitty-ass person who doesn't understand the original fucking material, was never a fan to begin with, has decided, you know what? I'm going to make a better version of this crappy cartoon. And thus we have this horrible fucking thing. This goddamn...
Yeah. I don't get why they... I mean, he admittedly says he does not like the original series or the remake. So in the end, why create this franchise? Why not create something new or call it a spinoff? He's calling a legitimate, reboot.
Exactly.
That looks like Adventure Time meets Steven Universe for the style.
Adventure Time fucked Steven Universe in the face and then decided, you know what? Thundercats is next.
Mm-hmm. It just is not a pleasing thing to look at.
No, it's not.
And then he had the classic series.
Okay. Outlaw Bear Dog has been very open about the fact that she does not like Superman. She's not a fan. So if Outlaw Bear Dog was suddenly to write and or create a brand new Superman show or series, I'm pretty sure I'm going to not like it because she doesn't like the character. She was never a fan. So what would the point be of her creating something she doesn't like to begin with? There is no point. There was never going to be a point. It's if you were never a fan to begin with, why the fuck are you agreeing to be a part of a new project that involves the thing you don't even like? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, at least as the lead story creator. I could see it if he was the, like involved in some other aspect of the show. Sure, fine, whatever. Everyone's got a job they do. They don't necessarily like it some days.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it comes down to if you're going to take on the position as the lead and, the person who's creating all the major keyframes, as well as writing the major plot points, and coming up with the overall story, why are you doing it if you don't have at least some level of care for the original franchise?
Yeah, like the 2011 remake was actually done by people who did legitimately care and love the original. They were huge fans of the original Thundercats. Now, there were certain elements from the original Thundercats that, let's face facts, it's very embedded into the 80s, and we could do away with it, and it's fine. The fact that Wile E. Kid and Wile E. Cat literally are a species from Thundera that do not age beyond child body, because if you pay attention to the fucking cartoon, they never age, and they're never going to age. That's kind of what the show implies. Though, yes, also in the first couple of episodes, they specifically say that Lion-O's capsule malfunctioned, which caused him to actually age. And when he came out, he was a 12-year-old inside of a 25-year-old's body, kind of thing. So, I mean, again, there are elements about the show that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So when the 2011 reboot actually happened, it was made by people that were fans. They liked and loved the original Thundercats, and they just simply wanted to create their own new version of it. And sadly, it was canceled after one season.
Yep. It was a really strong showing, and unfortunately, it was one of those things where the overlords stepped in and said, nope. And it wasn't because it wasn't popular. It was just because of toy sales, of all things.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When the 80s and early 90s rolled around with their, action cartoons and stuff, He-Man, Thundercats, Transformers, all that, what most people tend to not know or might not really understand is that there were a lot of cartoons based solely on toys themselves. For example, Mattel came out with the idea of the Transformers toy line way before the cartoon ever actually came into existence. Now, as that was going on, of course, Mattel decided we need to advertise these. How are we going to advertise these? What's one of the best ways we can advertise these? Oh, we'll make a cartoon. There wasn't a single fucking studio in America that was willing to work with Mattel in creating a cartoon. So they went to Japan. And they made a deal with a Japanese production company. And the Japanese production company didn't just do it. They did it with a fucking smile because, of course, the deal was that Japan would get the cartoons way before America ever did, and Japan would get the action figures before America did, which benefited the shit out of Mattel because they were like, no, yeah, totally. You can totally get all the product before, like, Americans do and shit like that. That's not a big deal. So while halfway through season one of fucking, like, Transformers, all of a sudden we're getting commercials for the upcoming show, Transformers. It was amazing.
Yep, and here in the U.S., we were all very sad because I remember as a kid, wanting Transformers toys, and a lot of them weren't released yet when I was a kid. I had to wait months for them to come out, and then, of course, they'd be, like, way out of the price range of my parents at that time.
Right, and that was how a lot of cartoons in the 80s did things. Even the Ninja Turtles cartoon. The toy lines were created before the cartoon ever was. Now, granted, the toys and the cartoon itself were based on the graphic novel from the 80s, but still, the toy line was made before the actual fucking cartoon came out, and they created characters in the show based off of the toys themselves. This is just that's just how the 80s and early 90s did their things with cartoons and toys and stuff like that. Now we have shows like Teen Titans, Young Justice, and the 2011 Thundercats remake being canceled because their toys didn't sell. Because kids don't give a shit about your toys anymore. They want the video games. They want the fucking TV shows. They want the apps that allow them to play the video games and all kinds of cool shit like that. They probably care more about comic books at this point because of the MCU and the DCEU. Mostly the MCU, let's be honest.
And, well, given comic book sales of late, that would be arguable too.
Well, you could even say that a lot of the reason why those numbers are even still somewhat stagnant is because there are still a lot of kids out there that really want to read up on, like, you know, Wonder Woman and Nightwing, the Avengers and stuff like that. And unfortunately, they'll probably get very disappointed as they get older and look back and go,
what happened?
Why did I buy those? Why did I make my dad buy me that shitty ass run of fucking the Inhumans? That was a terrible fucking series. Like I used to think it was so cool when I was a kid, and now I look back and I realize everybody was just being a fucking whiny bitch, just consistently complaining about everything. I had maybe 2 pages worth of action, and it was just someone punches another person and then an explosion. Well, that sucks. We, of course, are being currently joined by Jagan Political himself. What's going on, Jagan? Although you have yourself on mute. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry, guys. What's up?
Not much. Have you seen this? They're rebooting. They're rebooting Thundercats. Yeah.
Oh, the reboot? Yeah, I've seen the whole reboot bullshit. Yeah, no, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
The 2011 remake was fine. They should have stuck with it. Should have kept going with it. It was perfect as it was. This new direction that Cartoon Network is going in is going to kill Cartoon Network.
They're oversaturating the Cal Art style on their channel. I mean, they've got like 4 or 5 shows you can look at that are all the Cal Art style of animation, and they're all done better than this is. And it's not like it's a hard animation style to create for.
No, it's not. It's a very simplified animation style, and it's not for something like the Thundercats. It's Steven Universe, fine. It looks great. I particularly like Steven Universe. Was it Star versus the Forces of Evil? All right, you know, it's got that feel to it. It needs that art style. That's what it was created for, in my opinion. But Thundercats is supposed to be this rough and tumble type of animation.
Yeah.
This, you know, actual fighting, physicality. There's all these things to it that this art style is going to completely detract from. So it's gonna be terrible.
You know what's actually interesting is some black guy recently did a video covering this exact topic, and he actually brought up a very interesting point that we had cartoons like the Powerpuff Girls back in the 90s and early 2000s, and it was essentially, you know, very cheaply put together, very easy drawn cartoons, but they were still massively successful. Same with Samurai Jack. But the reason why they were so massively successful is because they were original.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thundercats is a very old cartoon. Well, I wouldn't say that old. It's about the same age as me. But Thundercats is a cartoon that's over 30 years old. And it got a reboot back in 2011. And the reboot actually did a fantastic job of actually bringing that love and that passion into the cartoon. And you know, the creators really showed that they were true fans of the cartoons and just simply wanted to have a new spin on this classic cartoon. What this garbage is nothing more than basically saying, I'm going to take what already exists and I'm going to make it better. No, you're not. You're actually making it worse. It's better. No, it's actually terrible. It's so much. I'm going to strangle you, you man bun having motherfucker.
Yeah, it's a perversion of my childhood is what I'm seeing with Cartoon Network now. And a lot of, not just like Cartoon Network, but a lot of different places, like animation is changing to this super simplified, very overly kid-friendly type of bullshit, and I don't like it. the animation is not just meant for kids. It's also meant for young adults and teenagers and stuff like that. You don't have to box everything into one age group. You know, old cartoons back in the day were meant not just for kids, but it was also meant for the parents watching them. So now it's just really super focused on like little kids, like freaking children and dumbass adults.
Thundercats was meant for kids back in the 80s when in the 80s they didn't follow a whole lot of rules when it came to like what children could and could not actually watch.
Yeah.
But nowadays Thundercats would be considered a cartoon that is more appropriate for teens and adults due to the fact that most of the adults nowadays actually watched Thundercats as a kid or knew about Thundercats when they were kids back in the 80s and such.
Well, and you figure the some of the storylines were fairly dark for kids. I mean, to a degree. I mean, they come from a planet that died. They're the last of their people.
Yeah. I think that's the most depressing part.
Yeah, that's the first episode.
Right?
Actually, you know what? No. The most depressing part. I'm going to actually point this out for people who are not aware of the original. The most depressing part about it is it was similar to the whole Krypton situation with Superman and all that stuff, except the entire planet was being evacuated, but a solar flare or an explosion blew up all the other fucking ships. The only one that survived was the one that had Lion-O, Chitara, Panthro, Tigra, Wily Cat, and Snarf in it. And, of course, Jaga.
I do have a theory. This is, in fact, this reboot, the Thundercats Roar, is a continuation of the original series, except they're all the ancestors because there was only 2 breedable females amongst all of the Thundercats that crashed on that planet. They're all inbred. They're all inbred, and this is what happened.
That would make sense, but at the same time, no. For the love of God, no! Don't make that a thing.
I know. Nice to meet you.
Thunder.
I'm Pedro, and I like nunchucks. I hit myself a balls again.
Of course, the bigger question then is, how did Snarf breed? There were 0 of his species around.
He's like the gremlins. You just pour water on him.
Well, here's the actual interesting thing. It's actually there were 3 women in the original that were breedable. Pumira was a character who essentially did fuck all. I'm not even kidding. So in the first season of the Thundercats, we have our original cast of the 4 adults and 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
In season 2, they continued the adventures, but around midway in season 2, they introduced 3 new Thundercats: Linkso, Bengali, and Pumira. Pumira did fucking nothing throughout the entire show. Linkso was a blind old man, but he actually was a very skilled fighter and knew how to fight, even though he was blind. On top of that, he was actually one of the best fucking pilots they had because of a special keyboard that they had designed specifically for him. And because he didn't actually need to use his sight, it was sort of like this kind of, he sensed everything around the ship to a degree that only he could actually pull off amazing feats and stuff like that. They had several episodes to point
Jedi cat person.
Kind of, yeah. And then I think that was because Linkso was very in tune with spirituality, similar to that of like Tigra. And Bengali was a blacksmith. He had a lot of strength behind him. He even had some kind of a wondrous hammer that he used as his main weapon and everything like that. And Bengali was actually a really, really interesting character. He was kind of like this younger Tigra who was consistently butting heads with Lion-O because he thought that he knew better about this or that than Lion-O did. And then, of course, the lesson would be he doesn't actually know, and he would probably get a lot of people in danger. He's not a very good leader, blah, blah, blah. So these were really interesting characters, but Pumira did fucking next to nothing. She was just another hot piece of ass for the guys to jerk off to. In the 2011 reboot, they made her so much more interesting.
Hey, don't be hard hating on the fat material. We need fat material. That's what I grew up with.
I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying I like to jerk off to Chitara and Pumaira as much as any other guy.
Do you realize that the actress who played Chitara had conversations with many men about how that was technically their first time getting like boners and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That poor woman.
Yeah, no kidding. He's like, I didn't need to know this, guys. But really, it was a cartoon. Keep it to yourself. Keep it in your pants.
You know what's even more interesting is you've got to think about it like this. So for at least 5 to 6 years before Thundercats came out, the world had Princess Leia.
Right.
And so Carrie Fisher had been dealing with the fact that there were a lot of guys out there that fapped it to Carrie Fisher. Only for the Thundercats cartoon to eventually come out, and the voice actress who plays Chitara has to deal with the fact that there are so many dudes out there that as soon as they hear her voice, erection. Which do you think is more disturbing? I think the fact that my voice could set off a dude's boner would be a little more disturbing to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what have I missed? Have you guys been harping on the new Thundercats?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a wee bit.
Just a skosh.
You and just about everyone else.
Yeah. Bren's probably in the chat wanting me to get so angry that I growl. I don't know. Maybe I will.
Yeah. Oh man, that Thundercats show. It's so like Igor is playing the whole original animation there for the theme song. It's so good. It's the kind of thing that just looking at you get all like charged up. I want fucking I'm all excited to see all this. It is. It's a very exciting show.
Yeah.
Yep. There's an opener for 2011's version, and a great homage to the original series, and then we get Roar.
It's terrible.
It's so disappointing. Like, honestly, I don't think anyone would really care that much that there was this new cartoon coming out on Cartoon Network about these cat people that went on these wacky adventures and they had their own special weapons and such like that if it wasn't actually Thundercats. If they didn't actually call it Thundercats. If it wasn't a Thundercats reboot, I don't think anybody would be pissed off. They'd probably just be like, whatever. It's just another shitty fucking Steven Universe cartoon. I might watch it. I might not. It depends on if I'm stoned enough. Whatever the case is.
Or if they had just come out and said, oh, no, this is a spinoff. We don't want people thinking we're trying to reboot the Thundercats. This is a spinoff with the intent to aim at kids, maybe get them reinterested in the originals, get them interested in Thundercats. Maybe they'll look up the original series. Maybe we'll do something in the future that's more geared towards teens and adults that's centered around the original type of franchise.
Yeah.
But they flat out call this a reboot.
You know what's actually also really sad is that this isn't the only time that this has been a thing. So everybody remembers all the Star Wars debacle and how, when Star Wars Episode 7 was being announced, there were a lot of parents that showed Episodes 4, 5, and 6 to their kids, and there was a lot of kid reactions like, oh, wow, that's his dad. That's so interesting, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are also stories of Star Wars fans out there who, before taking their kid to see The Force Awakens or even The Last Jedi, they had their kid watch the original fucking trilogy.
Right.
And they really liked it. And then they watched The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and they just kind of look over at their parents and they're like, so what'd you think? I like the originals more.
Yep.
They're old movies with old technology and puppets and special effects and all that stuff. Like, you would think The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi would be better for them visually, but no, kids want good stories. They want substance.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just want to have a visual orgasm. They want to be able to actually enjoy the project. This Thundercats roar does none of that.
No.
The big thing with kids is they understand when they're being pandered to. They understand when something is being put forward that talks down to them instead of something for them to aspire to. And a lot of kids' cartoons that aren't really popular but are still continue on because they're cheap to make, they pander and they talk down to the kids.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most annoying things for kids nowadays, especially because when I was a kid, I knew when my parents would lie to me. It was as simple as, not always. There were a lot of moments where I was very, very gullible and I just believed what they fucking told me. But there's plenty of times I can remember where my parents would just flat out lie to me because they didn't have an answer. They just were gonna lie. And I had to accept it because, what am I gonna do? I'm just a kid.
Our favorite thing to say to our oldest when he was like 2 or 3, because there was one summer when it was like a rare thing for Illinois. It was getting into the hundreds range. We just looked at him and said, "Outside is broken."
Outside is broken. It's the best fucking thing I think I've ever heard. Yes. You need to write a book on that. Outside is broken. That's the title of the book too.
I think part of the thing that's really upsetting the fans is the backlash from the cartoon industry itself. We have people like the heads of Studio Yada. They're the ones who work with like the Game Grumps on some of their music videos and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there defending the show. Aaron from the Game Grumps has pretty much been sort of not quite defending it, but just saying, well, no one saw the really big popular one from 2011, and he got roasted like crazy by his fans. By the way, no one let that slide. And then we have of other people in the industry saying things like every adult was upset about Thundercats roar. And it shows The Simpsons here. Old man yells at clouds. I think that's a little insulting to the viewership, and I think they should know better. Like we had this in comics.
Wait a second. This guy.
We just got. We just got asked a question that does make my head hurt a little. Warhammer Adventures. What's your guys' thoughts? Have you seen any of the images from this?
No, it's stupid and dumb, and I don't like it.
Oh my god, my head hurt. I'm like, wait. Making a kidified version of Warhammer, the most dark and fanatical franchise you could possibly imagine, and that's the series you want to make a kids cartoonist thing about?
Right.
Jagan, are you a fan of the 40K?
I am a fan of the 40K.
Nice.
Wait, what is this called again? Warhammer
Adventures.
Yeah.
And I am disturbed. Why are there kids?
Like I said, it's dumb and I hate it, and it's stupid and I don't like it. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it.
Okay.
Heresy abounds.
Blood for the blood gods. Destroy this before it gets too far out there. Let the Chaos Legion come.
The Codex Astartes foretold of this day, and we must burn the infidels.
Is this what you're talking about? This UN style kitty looking thing?
Yes! Yep.
It's the fucking UN.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Yeah, I can see why this would be a problem. Granted, I mean, I see the argument in saying, well, it's a spin-off game for kids.
They're all gonna die.
You don't have to play it. I get that argument, sure. With that said, though, the Warhammer game from my understanding, is a very mature game.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something that kids shouldn't be getting involved in. Like, this isn't something that you should transition children into.
No.
Because what if they like, oh, hey, this is really cool, and they go into a Warhammer Workshop game store, and they're going to see all this grotesque imagery, all these malls that have like zombie, or like I walked into a couple Warhammer stores. There were some horrific monsters in these little malls and on the boards they have there in the game game shop. This is not something you want to introduce to kids.
Go ahead and let your fucking 6-year-old read a Salamander book and tell me if that doesn't give him nightmares of melting people.
What? Mommy, are the Tyranids gonna eat me in my sleep? Yes, now go to
Yes.
fucking bed.
Be sure to have your plasma gun with you.
With that said, I'm actually for giving kids nightmares. It builds characters. Build characters.
Fucking Samaj. But
Let me tell-
hitting us with some pretty interesting questions.
We have a $2 donation from Billy Senpai Gaming. Till all is dust, thousand suns.
But yeah, no, I mean, like my mom would rent a bunch of movies from the local video store and fall asleep, and me and my brother would get up early in the morning and see these movies and go, hey, let's give this a watch. It's something new. We grew up that way. So I saw some pretty horrific things. I think I watched the Hellraiser series. Yeah.
So Ren is in the chat asking question to the chat: why does higher ups base cartoons vitality on toy sales nowadays? I know that was directed specifically to the chat, but in case anyone wasn't actually aware, I'm going to go ahead and let you in on, I guess, a trade secret, so to speak. Cartoons and toys have always been synonymous with each other.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how the game has always been. It's been that way since probably the 60s, and it really exploded in the 80s, especially when, cartoons like Transformers and Thundercats came out. In fact, when I was a kid, I had every single Thundercats toy that they had at that point. I had both versions of the Sword of Omens. I had the Claw Shield. I had every single action figure that they had made. I had an inflatable Thunder Tank tent kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had various tents. I had blankets. I had pillows. I basically was spoiled by my parents with everything Thundercats. So you could kind of get an idea of me being a huge fan of Thundercats.
Right.
Unfortunately, over the years, I ended up breaking and losing every single one of those fucking toys, which is extremely depressing. And I think not too long ago, the last remnants of my old Thundercats collection went missing as well, which was an old blanket of mine that I forgot to get out of the back of a car that we had to sell years ago and shit, which is very depressing for me. But at the same time, I'll get that fucking collection again.
That's what's up, man. Hey, you remember when Transformers came out with Galactus?
Yo, God.
All right, so I had all 4 versions of Galactus that came out. Like
Wow.
there was 4 major ones, and one of them was super fucking huge. And the reason I got it was my cousin didn't want to get all pissy on Christmas, so my aunt gave it to me. And I had this giant Galactus that was almost as tall as I was. So I was like, "This is fucking amazing."
Damn.
It was cool, man.
I can't remember if it was the G1 series of toys or not, but I do remember a buddy of mine had the Optimus Prime. That was the, what was it? The 1.8, the really huge truck one where, it actually had the back part that would click onto him after he transformed, but he still stood like 8 inches tall once he actually transformed him. And the back part would flip apart and became like a war machine, like a base with gun turrets and stuff if you transformed it apart.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that was actually the second line of toys that they had come out when it came to the Transformers. Yeah, because they came out at first with all the mini metal ones, which, dude, I kind of wish they went back to the original fucking the cheap metal Transformers.
Yes,
'Cause those were the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were surprisingly more durable than the plastic ones that came out later. Like they lasted a really long time. You could throw them motherfuckers and they would not break.
Oh yeah,
I still have a Grimjaw. That's one of the metal Transformers. My kids
nice.
love it. They every time we go to my my mother's place, it's one of the few toys they'll dig out of the storage area to because they never transform into the robot. They always leave them as the dinosaur to eat the other toys.
That's what's up. I think I have an original Starscream somewhere in storage.
nice.
I'm not for sure.
Nice.
So
I got a rhino in the fucking chat trying to say that I was a spoiled kid and all that shit. Look, dude, it was the 80s. I was an only child at the time. Well, I had an infant, a little brother and everything like that. But like, it was the 80s. Everything was super fucking cheap, and there were a lot of toy deals going on around Christmas time and my birthday and all that stuff. So it just so happened to be a very serendipitous fucking thing where my parents just so happened to have enough money to give me everything I wanted. Shortly after that, none of that exists for me anymore because my parents popped out 2 more kids and we lived a poor life. We were the first 6 years of my life was, well, no. I would say the first 5 years of my life, I lived like a spoiled white kid. I'm not going to lie about it. The first 5 years of my life, I lived like a spoiled white kid because I got anything I wanted and everything I wanted. When I got about 6 years old, I had to fucking humble myself the hell up because I had 2 little sisters and they were going to get all the attention.
I'll tell you what, y'all remember Voltron? Somebody was talking about Voltron in the chat.
Yes, Voltron is the shit.
Right,
the new cartoon is awesome.
Yeah.
Lion Voltron, yes, was the best Voltron in my opinion as well. But I did like the one that was made up of like 1,000 different fucking vehicles. I had all the little vehicles. It took me years to collect all of it and put it together, but it was worth it. It really was.
I had forgotten about the vehicle Voltron.
The series was terrible.
Yes.
It was bad, so bad. But I just liked the way it looked.
Yeah.
I kind of hate you a little bit, Jagan, for saying that you liked the vehicle Voltron.
I just like the way it looked. And, that's all I did. I liked the aesthetic of it. It was terrible looking, but I liked it. Yeah, I like weird shit like that. But the Lion Voltron is the best Voltron, hands down.
It is.
So
you know what? There's only 4 of us right now. Samaj just currently stepped away from his computer, but there's 4 of us right now. Seeing as how Schmeckle can't fucking speak with his shitty ass internet.
Oh, Canada.
Who do you guys think we would be? Honestly, I think Igor would be the pilot of the Yellow Lion.
I'd be the fat guy, hands down.
Well, that's Hunk, though. That's Hunk. I don't think I'm not basing it off of our physical appearance or anything like that because there's 4 fat guys vying for who's the fat guy. But based on our personalities, because Hunk was the engineer, the one who actually knew tech and how to use it and all that stuff, I think Igor would probably fit better as the yellow pilot. I think Samaj would fit best for the green as the Green Lion, just because of his highly creative mind. And
since Schmeckle can't argue against it, I put him as the pink. The pink.
It's the Blue Lion. He just so happened to wear a pink suit for some awful reason.
Worst choice ever in aesthetics.
No, but actually, I think I would put. I don't know, Jagan. It's either black or red for either of us.
I think I'd be the black one, and you'd probably be the red. I don't know, man. It really just depends.
I am kind of the hothead. The Black Lion just so happened to be the leader of the Voltron force and everything, but. Right. Yeah, no, I am more of a hothead between the 2 of us. You would probably be the one to actually figure out the plan to get us out of the hot spot and everything like that. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to blow everything up.
Yeah. It's what it is. That's what it is. I don't know, man. To be honest, I'd probably be the villain. If we want to get down to technicals, I would be the villain.
I'll get you, Voltron, next time.
I'll get you, Voltron, next time. Oh wait, that's He-Man. He-Man.
Oh my god! I forgot you do fucking characters like that. I almost forgot you are the what the fuck do you call your troll again?
Oh, Gorax.
Gorax, yes. The fuck. God damn it, Jagan! It's been so long since I've seen you on a stream.
Oh yeah, I've been doing lots of things, and here recently, some stuff happened. So yeah, I haven't been around. So
yeah, I saw your Twitter, man. It's understandable.
Yeah, it's what it is. But yeah, other than that, it's what it is. I do my stream, and just busy.
Yeah, I hear that. All right. Well, I think we've probably shit on Thundercats Roar for quite a while. We'll probably go back to shitting on Thundercats Roar Again,
Oh yeah.
fucking piece of shit. Did anybody watch Infinity War and Deadpool 2?
I haven't watched either of them yet, but my impressions of Deadpool 2 are positive, and my impressions of fucking Infinity War is not. So yeah.
That's actually kind of funny because I'm probably one of the only people that saw both and will give raving reviews for Deadpool 2 and say, oh my god, it's so amazing. In all honesty, it's better than the first one, and that's rare.
Wow.
But when it comes to Infinity War, I'm not going to give it a bad review, nor am I going to give it a good review. I am still so horribly indifferent that I can't fully review it.
Okay.
I think part of the problem with Infinity War is I've watched a ton of reviews on it and spoilers and so on for it, and it sounds for a lot of people the big thing is because it's a two-parter. It's hard to give a real good sense for it because you're really just kind of left hanging, waiting for the next film.
Yeah, that's pretty much one of the main reasons why I can't fully judge it, because of the fact that I've basically watched an incomplete movie.
Yeah.
Once Avengers 4 comes out, then I can actually judge Infinity War and Avengers 4 as a whole and be able to actually say, all right, whether this movie was bad or not and such. But there were some elements of Infinity War that I do have problems with. For the most part, the first half of the movie was fucking amazing. That opening sequence was just fucking gorgeous. And then the second half of the movie it sort of felt like you're coming down from a really good high, but it's just not feeling good. You're getting a headache.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I could describe it. But at the same time, it wasn't much of a headache. It was just one of those annoying little fucking, knocking on my head kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't fully judge the movie because of the fact that it is an incomplete story.
Right. I'd have to see it myself, man. Like I said, I'm going to see it. Just haven't seen it yet. As soon as I do, I'll make my judgment. But from what I've seen of it, like just previews and whatnot, and a lot of things I've heard, I mean, it's up in the air still for me how I really feel about it. But I still, Deadpool 2 looks way better. it just does.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm a Deadpool fan, so it's what it is.
Oh,
why?
Your wife really likes
I
to
just
make me
why? No. Why did you have to post that? I had forgotten that they were doing that.
Ren. What? You bitch! I can hear her laughing in the background.
Oh, God. And, of course, Donatello with his giant forehead of doom because, you got to remember, he's the smart one.
Yeah, these designs don't make a whole lot of sense to me. See, first of all, we have Donatello in some wacky, crazy invention of his where April O'Neil, who is apparently now a black chick, basically he is flying to danger with his weird ass like hover pack type thing, holding his stupid fucking metal fucking bow staff. And he's got his big ass head because, yeah, of course, the fucking appeal is, oh, well, he's the smart one, so he has to have a bigger cranium. Then we got Michelangelo. Those are not nunchucks. I don't know what the hell those are. What's some kind of crazy ass fucking heavy chain? Okay, you're taking away an iconic weapon from somebody, but sure, fuck off. Leonardo looks pretty goddamn normal, but he's scarred up.
Here's another thing. He's not dual wielding. He's got a two-handed sword now.
Oh, okay.
Why does he have Tonfas?
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of leading up to. Why did you take the size away? Why did you give him Tonfas?
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm just done. Nope. You can touch anything else in my life. Don't touch my Ninja Turtles.
I have a feeling that they have super ninja powers, and that's why we have the glowy weapons.
I will find who has destroyed one of my favorite childhood things, and I will saw your ass, sir. I will find you and set traps, and you will not escape.
I, like most people, I'm very confused about April O'Neil's change in ethnicity. I mean, I guess it's not a huge thing, but
It's not an issue, but at the same time, stop pandering to the SJW crowd, please, people. Please.
Well,
Actually,
Yeah.
I'd like to address the fact that has anyone else noticed every single redheaded white girl keeps getting replaced by a black chick?
Yep.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah,
of course-
dude,
I didn't stop to think about it.
Yeah.
even the upcoming Flash movie, which they have, of course, greenlit and everything, you can look up the IMDb. Iris West is being played by a light-skinned black chick, and I'm starting to think, is this becoming a new trend? Are all the redheaded white girls being replaced completely by black chicks? Because
So what you're really saying is at the end of Avengers 4, we will no longer have Black Widow. We will have Black Widow.
we'll have Black Widow.
Just a black chick who offed her husband. Black Widow.
It's funny because she's the last one. She really is. She's the last redheaded white chick in comic books that actually got to be a redheaded white chick in the movies.
I hope someone acknowledges that. You know what? I haven't seen in a long
Even
time.
Iron Man got replaced by a black chick, somebody said, and that is true.
Yep, that is true.
Although,
Well, he had red in his armor. That's why.
although there was something a bit I thought was kind of strange. Black Widow in Infinity War is blonde now. What?
Yeah.
And they never explained that.
Actually, it's pretty obvious. They don't have to explain it because it's the whole show don't tell thing. They're hiding. What's what's one of the most common things that you can identify a person at? Their hair. Hair color, yes. So as a spy, she would naturally want to cut and color her hair differently than what she looked like before she left. On top of that, the original Black Widow in lore was actually a blonde woman named Yolanda.
Yeah.
So it doesn't exactly defeat anything. It's just people have been complaining because for some reason they care more about aesthetics than they do, storytelling visually without having to give dialogue to obviously state the obvious.
Yeah.
What is happening here?
I don't know.
I got sent a message, a tweet. Oh, this is okay. The bitching witch was in the chat talking about a little kid dressed in a Transformers costume that actually transformed.
Yes, I saw that. Oh, so adorbs.
It was. It's so cute.
Did he see? Was it the one with the 3 kids that all have the transforming costumes?
Yeah.
They have-
Optimus Prime, Starscream, and Bumblebee.
Yep.
That's cool. I seen the Bumblebee costume where this dude just rolled out and he actually fucking turned into a car and was rolling.
Oh yeah, I saw one like that too. It was too cool.
Like, that's neat.
God damn it, this is so freaking adorable. I don't know what to do about it.
All the
Okay.
different.
Those parents kick ass. Those are
Yeah.
amazing parents right there. I want a Transformer suit that actually transforms. Hell yeah, you're going to get a Transformer suit that actually transforms. Roll out.
Fuck yeah.
Right up there with the. I was at a Gen Con one year, and some dad had made for his daughter one of the land speeders from Star Wars that was it came up to the waist, but made the pantsuit, like the legs kind of blended in with the rest of the costume, and then she had a full the forest style suit that they wore for the stormtroopers for the upper part of the body.
That's cool.
The bitching witch wants me to share, so I'm going to go ahead and screen share. And there's a video.
Yep.
Look, we got a little Bumblebee. We got the Starscream.
Mm-hmm.
And off over here, you see there's
Optimus Prime.
Oh, that's
I love
awesome.
it. Here goes
It-
Starscream.
And in your head, you can hear the transformation noise, of course.
Fun fact, that was actually a fart recorded. I'm not even joking. That's actually somebody recorded their own fart into a microphone and then just distorted it to make the Transformer sound.
That's awesome.
That is an actual true. Look at that! It's so fucking cute.
That's amazing.
Ah,
I gotta get my kid one of these.
fuck yeah!
It's gotta happen.
My youngest would be losing his mind if he had a costume like that.
Right.
Be the coolest kid in school.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the most envious kid in school, not just the coolest kid in school. Like everybody's just like, hell yeah, he's got a transform. That motherfucking thing transforms. Oh, I want to be Optimus Prime. Fuck you, Dad.
Oh man.
Oh. Ren sent me something special to make up for the article. I gladly accept this. No, we'll put it into my special folder later. I'm sorry. I have a thing for Chitara and Pumaira. Excuse the fuck out of me.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Everybody's got their like their animated babes. You know, like everybody's got one.
Their waifu.
Those are the classic waifus that I will never forsake ever. Like, no, there is no animated woman in the history of animated women that will ever be above Chitara and Pumaira for me, just because, like, I hit puberty because of those women. All right.
Oh, what's this cartoon? Oh yeah.
What's going on? Oh shit.
Old Thundercats cartoons being played on rerun. This is awesome. And I feel something funny.
Some people felt the same way about April O'Neil.
True.
Yeah, April O'Neil was something special.
So there's this thing.
I still remember from the original comic when Michelangelo looked at April O'Neil. You want to experience some real turtle power?
Okay, you know what, Ren? We're gonna fight now because those are fighting words. Harley Quinn beats Chitara. No, she doesn't, young lady.
Poison Ivy is my thing. Poison Ivy was always kind of fuck yeah.
Oh, when it comes to comic books, oh yeah, dude. Rogue was probably my my ultimate crush when it came to the comic book chicks, just because like she was that Southern belle that wore that skin tight green suit, and I was just like, I don't know why, and I think it's because I really like the color green, but I love the color green right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, let's see who else. It was another Batman villain. I forget what her name was. The Cheetah chick, who was fucking half human, half cheetah.
Oh no, sir. That's a Wonder Woman villain. That was Cheetah.
Is that a Wonder Woman villain?
AKA Cheetah Queen. Yeah, that's Wonder Woman villain.
That's right. I was thinking of something else from the Batman, the animated series. She was a lion chick. Yeah, because she got fucking injected with the transformation shit, and like her husband and everything, or whatever.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. That was a character that was never actually meant to be a long-time Batman villain. That was for the show, because it was sort of their segue into the Man-Bat series.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much like Man-Bat was actually one of his villains from the comic books and everything. So that was why they introduced that character.
I love Man-Bat. Man-Bat's a fucking amazing villain.
Man-Bat was always so interesting because, he's not Batman, he's the Man-Bat. And I'm just like, a part of me kind of wishes that Batman would have actually had some sort of weird superpower mutation that made him something like that. Like, it would have just been more interesting to me. And then, of course, what was it? The original creators of the Justice League cartoon and Batman of the Animated Series and all that came out with that cartoon a couple of years ago. Justice League Gods and Monsters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Gods and Monsters. That's right. And,
Batman was a vampire. It was so cool.
Yeah, the different universe Batman. That was pretty neat. I was like, that's a good way to do that, actually. Yes.
Yeah. I also like the fact that it wasn't actually Diana Prince, Bruce Wayne, and Kal-El. It was actually technically that was Kal-El, but that was actually the son of Zod, not the son of Jor-El.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty cool too. The whole concept of that universe was neat. Everything just kind of shifted to the left.
It really did, dude. I especially loved in it when you get into Wonder Woman's past. It turns out that there's the New Gods and the Apocalyptians.
Mm-hmm.
And the New Gods completely murdered, savagely, viciously, and without warning, the fucking Apocalyptians. And I'm just like, well, Jesus Christ, Orion, what the fuck happened just now?
Right? It's fucking amazing. There's so many amazing like spin-off universes within, of course, DC and Marvel. Mm-hmm. But with DC, like they go so in depth with their different universes, you pretty much whatever you could think of possibly exists somewhere in the multiverse of DC. Yeah. So it's pretty in depth, and there are a lot of spin-off comic books that a lot of people haven't read, and some of them are really weird, and some of them are really good. So I suggest if you ever get the chance, go out there and find some spin-offs, like just random shit. Nothing mainstream. The spin-offs are always more interesting than the mainstream shit. So
very, very true. The spin-offs are usually more interesting. I think one of my reasons for liking the spin-offs is because they take the Batman mythos and they actually improve upon it, because it's not just the same basic ass story over and over again. Like, example, Batman Begins. Far better fucking Batman. Far more believable, because they don't sit there and tell you, oh, he's a master of 127 different styles of martial arts, and he has an eidetic memory, and he has 15 PhDs. No. This is Bruce Wayne. Yeah. He graduated college with like a basic ass degree. He didn't give two shits about like getting a PhD or any shit like that. Travels the world and beats the shit out of criminals to eventually learn ninjutsu and various other styles from the League of Shadows, even though it's the League of Assassins, right. To come back to Gotham and become basically the Batman. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Yes, that's actually interesting. That's more believable. Congratulations. You actually took the Batman formula and made it better.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Do that, comic books, DC, you fucking faggots. Actually improve on your characters, not just say, we're not going to change this character. This is going to be the same boring-ass fucking unbelievable human that everybody obsesses and says, he's the most relatable character in comic books. Bitch, the Punisher is the most relatable character in comic books. I will slap the shit out of you.
The most relatable Batman for me was the series they did when he was old. Like,
Dark Knight.
Yeah, I fucking know. Oh my god, it was amazing, and he just went off on every villain that he came across, beat the shit out of him. Like he beat him almost to death. He did beat one dude to death in that comic book series.
No, in that comic book series, he beat several villains to death. They were just like street punks, though.
He beat a lot of motherfuckers though. So it was way more believable than some of the other Batmans, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like how he takes down people and somehow doesn't kill them. No, bullshit. Most of the takedowns Batman does has killed people. It's just physics, man.
Oh yeah, that warehouse scene, he killed every single one of those thugs. I'm sorry, if you think a man can survive having his head put through that thick of concrete, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, pretty much.
But our Rhino is in the it was Chaos who actually brought up, so you wish Batman was Dracula. No, I wish Batman was actually a little more believable or a little more interesting. Batman to me is one of the most boring non-superpowered characters out there. He has a very boring past. And a lot of people are probably going to argue, what? He has a very interesting past. I'm sorry, but when every single member of the Justice League has a past of my parents are dead or my parent is dead or something along those lines, it's no longer interesting.
Well, you got to take, like, Batman has a plain Jane backstory, people. It is plain fucking Jane. It is so simplistic that it's sad. What really makes Batman interesting to me is that you can take that story, twist it into so many different variables, and make so many comic books off of that plain Jane backstory, twist it in different ways, and make so many different Batmans. Like,
right.
With different varying personalities.
Yeah, we have $2.
That's what's more interesting.
$2 from Billy Senpai. The Punisher is the new cosmic Ghost Rider.
Oh,
Punisher.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess Shadman's not a big fan of the new Thundercats.
Well, or at least the creator.
Yeah.
There are some things like I like people's appearances. I tend to not comment on, but I will say that guys, the man bun is not a thing. Don't do that. It's just ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It is the
Yeah.
worst thing in the world. If this dude looks like I don't know, it's kind of a skinnier version of me with a man bun, and that terrifies me.
The thing is with some of these people, I will give some of them a bit of a pass because I do believe a large portion of this particular art style that's being pushed upon them is being done through by the studio. And Warner Brothers went through new management like a year or so ago.
I wonder why.
Yeah, so when the new management came in there, of course they canceled a bunch of shows. One, of course, being Young Justice, which in everyone's mind is incredibly stupid. And it took the fans to back it to get on Netflix to get another season.
Right.
Also, I mean, I think there's also been a change in their animated movies as well. I don't know in particular. I sort of stopped watching after a while, just because like after they did a Court of Owls story, which was like Batman versus Robin. I really didn't like that because I fucking love Court of Owls, and they really butchered that.
Oh,
Yeah, they
you
fucked it up.
want to get more mad? Gotham, the TV show on Fox, did Court of Owls in the second season.
See,
and all of season 3 was pretty much exactly that. They hinted at it at the very end of season 2 or towards the end of season 2, and then season 3 was almost nothing but Bruce dealing with the Court of Owls.
That's
That
fucking terrible.
fucking early. He's still 14 years old, and we're being told that not only is Jim Gordon actually Batman throughout this entire fucking series, but all of Batman's villains, minus fucking Selena Kyle, are full-grown adults, which kind of defeats the fucking purpose of them being his villains. And that now, instead of just, eventually as an adult coming into his own to become Batman, he's now fucking donning a costume and calling himself Batboy, and he only has boxing as his actual true training in martial arts.
My God.
Okay. Sure.
That's why I stopped watching Gotham, dude. Like, I was like, this is going the bad way, and I already saw it, like, fucking halfway through season 1. I was like, nah, I don't like this. I'm done.
Yep.
I just don't. For me, a lot of live action TV shows just don't do it for me anymore.
I like The Flash. I'm not gonna lie. I like the TV show The Flash. I mean, yeah, they replaced Iris with a black girl, but they made it work.
She was actually great. I didn't mind when they did that. Most of the time, I don't mind, but I'm starting to notice a weird theme that all the redheaded white chicks, minus of course Black Widow, are being replaced by black girls, and it's really starting to get weirder and weirder because it's like, is nobody else noticing this?
No, it's happening, and people are noticing. People are just not saying anything. They don't care. Most people really don't care, and that's whatever, man. Like, I don't care that people are being replaced. I don't care that people are being quote unquote more represented. If they can't act the part, don't throw them in there.
Oh, yeah. Not only did the Iris West from the TV show do a fucking phenomenal job of being Iris West, which, God, thank you for that. But, damn, would do 10 out of 10. Holy shit.
Oh,
that
yeah.
chick is fucking hot as balls. I think the only thing that I actually had to say is that the CW shows, every single one of them in this past season, right at the mid-season finale, because they have it split up during the holidays and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right at the mid-season finale of the latest seasons, I basically gave up on all 3 shows. I gave up on Arrow, Flash, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow, because DC's Legend of Tomorrow continued to push the most god-awful, lazy fucking pandering writing I think I've ever seen in a bullshit-ass TV show that started off with one of the best fucking first seasons ever. The Flash was going the same route as fucking Legends of Tomorrow, but worse than that was showing elements of of the reasons why I fucking rage quit on Arrow. And in Arrow, all of a sudden now they're not following through with their Oliver Queen learned his lesson in this season. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Oliver Queen learned his lesson in this season. No, he didn't. No, he keeps fucking up. He keeps making the same mistakes. And on top of that, he's fucking breaking the promise he made to his son in the beginning of this season. And I'm fucking pissed because I'm like, watch, the son's going to find out and he's going to be heartbroken because his dad decided to lie to him and continue to be a superhero because he can't take the mask off and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you never should have wrote that into the story in the first place. Oliver Queen is a piece of shit character. Barry Allen is a piece of shit character because Barry Allen can't fucking learn a goddamn lesson. He keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And DC's Legends of Tomorrow can suck my fat fucking cock because that entire show is just trash now. I lost hope for fucking Black Lightning, but I hear Black Lightning is actually doing fucking great.
Now hold on. Somebody said in the chat, Black Lightning was terrible. Look, if you understand the actual history of the character, he was Black Power. Like he was a Black Power fucking symbol, and he was a Black Panther supporter and all this other stuff back in the day, and all that. Like he is part of the modern. He is working for the modern day. All right, he works for what is going on in the world, to be honest. He actually reflects the mindset of the world at the moment. And he's not reflecting it in the way people think he's reflecting it. He actually is. He just cares about people at the end of the day. And yeah, there's a lot of SJW bullshit thrown in there. That's going to happen, guys. But his character has always cared about the people of his city, of his area. That's just how he's been. And his daughters, that's a little bit of a different story. But he himself, I dig the character, and I dig it personally myself. So, yeah. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to let the current social political climate unfortunately corrupt and mess with their actual judgments on a lot of characters that were written in the 1960s and 70s as more Black positive characters and so on and so forth. Because like a lot of people fucking hated Luke Cage, and I'm like, Luke Cage pays an homage to two things: what is referred to as blaxploitation comic books of the 1970s, as well as the blaxploitation TV shows starring things like Dolomite and fucking Shaft.
Yeah,
it's paying homage to its roots. Let them pay homage to the roots. If you don't like it, just watch something the fuck else and shut your whore mouth. Let me enjoy Luke Cage.
I didn't mind Luke Cage. I thought it was pretty good. These things are good for what they are, and when they stick to their guns, like when it comes to different characters and where they come from and their past and stuff, if they stick to the guns and they stick to where shit came from, I'm good with it. And they did do that with Luke Cage, and they did that with they kind of fucked up Iron Fist, in my opinion. But
they fucking hella fucked up Iron Fist. Dude, in the first episode, I couldn't stop laughing, and I realized I was in for a train wreck. Because in the fight, in the lobby, I shit you not, at one point, Danny pushes, not even beats up and punches and kicks, but like just fancily pushes a security guard onto a bench, and he's knocked out.
Yeah, that was...
and I was just like... okay, shit fight choreography, and I'm in for a horrible TV show, aren't I?
Well, Defenders was bad. I didn't like Defenders. That was...
You say this about Iron Fist, is that you remember... You mostly remember calling him Danny Rand, because you hear the name so many times throughout the entire show that you tend to wonder, why is this called Iron Fist? Just call it Danny Rand. Like the actual Iron Fist stuff didn't really play into the factor until like late into the season, and even then it was like, okay. And I think my biggest problem with Iron Fist in particular, well, actually there's a lot of problems, two that really stand out. One, he was never in his outfit.
Yeah,
he never got his suit. He should have gotten his suit. Everyone else did at some point, even Iron Fist, not Iron Fist, Luke Cage, even he got his classic outfit for like one episode, but he still had it. Iron Fist had nothing. The other huge glaring problem I have with Iron Fist is on a visual perspective. So whoever was in charge of doing the lighting on that show needs to get fired. Let me tell you, if you're in a dark room you need to have some other form of lighting. Otherwise, it's a really, really dark room.
Right.
There was supposed to be like a conversation between him and that, I forget the name of the woman. I couldn't make out their faces. It was just impossible. It was impossible to see. And like at least have a TV on the background, maybe a window, a lamp, anything. It's supposed to be like a bit of a romantic thing. It's just two people in the dark. It was fucking terrible to see.
Pretty much. Shazam versus Kazam. Who would win? Well, fucking goddamn it, people.
I'm gonna say Shazam wins because I don't want to actually think of that fight, so I just want it over with.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man. All right, guys. I'm going to have to pop out here. So,
okay.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah. It was good to see you again, man.
Yeah. I will check you guys later.
All right, take it easy.
Take care. Yeah, I'm late because I'm trying to figure out plugins and stuff for my computer.
Oh, you got the new computer and just kind of tinkering around with it and whatnot.
Yeah. There's some things I can figure out easily, some things I can't. It's a thing. So yeah. Okay. So you guys probably already talked to death the Thundercats thing. I didn't get a chance to rant about it myself.
Oh no, go ahead and actually let's go back to the Thundercats. I figured we could just do a little bit of the Deadpool 2 and Avengers 4, even though Jagan hadn't seen Deadpool 2 and Avengers Infinity War. I figured we could at least kind of talk briefly about it, mostly because I don't want to make the same mistake that we made last time with Infinity War, where we consistently just spoiled the shit out of it for a lot of people. It did just come out. I understand that it was this past weekend and that people should have already seen it by now, but sometimes people just can't make it to the theater because of money issues or scheduling issues or shit just comes up. So I'd rather be spoiler-free at least for another week. Infinity War, it's been out for a couple weeks now. We could talk all we want about that, but this is specifically Avengers 4, so I'm assuming it would be like speculation based off of this.
It would be. I don't know if you ever watch Midnight's Edge, but they were talking about a leaked script that came out. It was like it was on 4chan. However, the person who leaked the script actually was right about the first Avengers movie. Like the last one, Infinity War. So it makes, but unfortunately, from what they could see from their reading of the script, they're not happy with it. Now, granted, this could just be like a first draft or third draft. You can't confirm with scripts whether or not that's the final one, because sometimes they might accidentally leak scripts after they've already like heavily changed it. So it could be legit, but it could be not. But essentially, Ant-Man, when that comes out, it's supposed to set up the quantum realm. And through the quantum realm, you're able to do some sort of time travel. And the theory is that there's going to be some time travel in the next Avengers movie. And not only are they going to fix all the shit that happened before, they're actually going to retcon some things in previous movies. I know. I'm not.
It won't be speculation because it's already a proven fact that we are going to have time travel in the next movie due to the fact that, one, we have the time stone, and two, we are about to see the origin of Captain Marvel, or at least a bit of the origin of Captain Marvel, which takes place in the 90s.
I'm not bothered by the concept of time travel. I'm just more like at the idea of retconning stuff. It's like, okay, you've created this extended universe. Each movie is tied in some way to the next and so forth. I get that they want to kind of change things because they want to alter their history, as it were, going forward. But at the same time, can't we come up with another way?
Yeah. Can't we do this better? I don't know. Some of the things that they did say from the little time travel stuff is that they're also gathering information and all that. and the script did say that Tony Stark would make his own Infinity Gauntlet, and a sacrifice would be necessary for the Soul Stone, and Captain America volunteers to be sacrificed for the greater good, if you will. And as such, they get the stone, and he's able to change certain things. Also, they managed to save Pedro, so let me Quicksilver's back.
Hooray!
They weren't very happy on Midnight's Edge, and I'm not very happy about this either. It would be controversial to let everyone stay dead, but it also like all the people who did die, if you actually think about it, they're all the ones who still renewed their contract. So they're coming back.
Yeah.
A rhino for $5. I want to see Fantastic Four, but I haven't seen the first 3 movies yet. You can watch the first 2. Don't bother with Fanforstic. It's trash. It's horrible. I have still yet to ever see this movie, and I fucking still hate it.
Well, after I watched what they did to Dr. Doom, I was just like, nope.
Yeah, can we stop having studios try to make Dr. Doom some sort of weird, like, cosmic-powered person and all that shit? Can you stick to the formula that was originally Dr. Doom? He's actually a genius. He's brilliant with tech. He dabbled in the dark arts, specifically magic. Most of his tech is a bastard combination of basically magic and technology. He's actually one of the smartest people on the fucking planet, making him extremely menacing. He has no actual powers whatsoever, but he has enhanced himself through various potions and chemistry in the past, like, through special super soldier kind of things, but they're like his version.
He's also technically the king of a country, but he prefers to be called Doctor. What does that tell you? He's an eccentric kind of guy. Also, he has no problems being the classical supervillain. He has no problems monologuing, telling these big epic stories while he's gonna try and kill you and all that. No, doesn't give no fucks. This is a guy that will be a classic supervillain, and he's okay with it.
I actually got the joke, Rhino. I understood that what you were going with there. Execution is semi bad, but I didn't want to play into it just because every time somebody brings up the Fantastic Four, I eventually go to that fucking bullshit ass movie Fanforstic, and I'm just like, why? My brain won't let me play jokes sometimes. Like, there are just some things like this Thundercats thing. I can't even really make fucking jokes about it. It's fucking terrible. It's awful. Who the fuck thought this is a good idea? Yeah, Samaj, you kind of played a little bit into the whole, like, well, the studio is saying, yeah, I don't care. At the same time, the people that are a part of the project could have easily just said, no, I'm not going to shit on a classic cartoon like that. I'm not going to shit on a fucking people's childhood like that to basically give you some fucking horrible buttfuck Steven Universe atrocity. I'm not going to do that. I didn't even like the original. So why would I fucking work on a project that I don't even like? Oh, because I think this is better. Fuck you, you faggot. Who is that man bun faggot? What was his name again? Corky?
I'd have to look him up again. I can't remember.
And you know what's sort of weird? I have to look up his Twitter, but on his Twitter account, his pinned tweet was something he did like 2 years ago or a year ago for a personal project, a personal animation thing. You actually watched that, and it still has a bit of a cartoony look to it, but it looks way more epic than Thundercats. There's a lot more action and all that stuff, more gritty violence in that, more of what I would expect. If they did something like that, there would be less problems. Not this cutesy-wootsy, cartoony stuff.
What were you just talking about? I was laughing at a joke.
The guy who's doing the animation for the Thundercats Roar has quality work in the past, but this stuff is just, it's
like, what has he done?
Not good. Well, he did a personal project. I was telling you about it earlier, where it's actually really well done. Has its own unique character and style to it, and it's good. And then you see this stuff, and you go, what happened?
He drank too much soy. Real quick though, a rhino for $2. Black Widow replaced by Black Single Mother. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I think that is inevitably what will happen. Like when they do the whole time travel thing, suddenly Natasha Romanoff is actually replaced by Natty from the Block.
Natasha.
Nadasha.
Someone's gonna mess with the Hulk, and she's just gonna walk in there. Oh, don't you go messing with my man.
Bitch, I will cut you.
That or it's like, do you know who my boyfriend is?
I fucking dare you to mess with me, bro. Fair enough. I would never mess with her because I know who her boyfriend is. Okay.
I'm currently in a semi Twitter fight with the Batman right now, just because Igor's wife, Ren, decided to start some shit between us because I called Batman a boring character.
I would imagine Batman takes offense to that.
40-second teaser of my personal animated project, Analog On. Here's a link. This is what he originally. He's done this.
Yep.
This looks amazing.
This was his personal project. This is his little love child, his thing. This is something that if he did Thundercats like that, actually, let me just hit this link here. If he did Thundercats like this, I would imagine there would be a great deal less hate. Because although this still has a bright and colorful kind of appeal, this is exactly what is needed.
Oh yeah, people would love this.
Oh no, I was hoping that it was going to be sort of like a homage to Terminator with the head crushing.
Well, it might be. I don't know what his overall plan would have been. I don't know if this is like a pilot, or maybe he was just doing it because this seemed like a lot of fun to him.
It's a proof of concept trailer, meaning it was basically something he was doing to sell his skills to a studio.
Right. Okay, and that makes sense. And by looking at this, he has talent.
Oh yeah,
I imagine that he is quite capable of performing and doing something that would be very visually appealing and fun for fans like you and I. And we're all a bunch of geeks here, and this is like all action. Like,
I could even accept the little, the anime eyes going on with this weird robot chick. Like as cartoony, like overly cartoony as it is, it's still appealing to me. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's still appealing. Everything about this looks like it would have been.
It's got the retro '80s vibe going for it, which would have actually played really well for a reboot for Thundercats.
Well, and this is why when I said before, I'm sure it's the studio doing this because this guy he's capable of doing this. If he was,
Here's the thing. If they're asking him to do Cal art, there are better examples than what he's producing. And that's what's throwing me off. If he wanted to do this kind of like spin-off reboot thing, why go for this even lazier version of Cal art's style that he is producing? I mean, I have seen people who are fans of the Cal art style on Twitter who have been taking the characters that he's drawn for this and be like, this was my 30-second upgrade on this, and it's not any different from the Cal art style, but it looks far more iconic than what he's put out there.
Now, is there a reason why it's called Cal art?
Because that's the original artist who came up with that Calvin or something like that, or Calgary. Calgary was his name. But that's where it gets its name from, is the artist that came up with that particular style.
And a lot of people who are animators who are defending him also came from Cal Arts. So I mean that's something else to keep in mind. I don't know if it's just like it's my school. I'm going to defend my fellow my fellow classmates or whatever. Could be. So this is why I say, like, let's not get too harsh on the creator here,
What?
He's fully.
Here's the thing, though. He has fully stated he does not like the original Thundercats, and he feels that what he is producing is a upgrade to the franchise. There is a level of forgiveness, and then there is
blasphemous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. That I didn't know. But I also think that you have to say what you have to say to keep your job. If you say you hate what you're working on, why would they keep you on for the job? I'm sure he needs to pay his bills. On top of all that, we know the show's coming, whether we want it or not. Because,
well, I mean, we think it might still be coming, but you have to remember, Warner Brothers has unlisted much of the videos involving the trailers for the Thundercats Roar.
Well,
it's been so poorly received that they are basically erasing it from their YouTube channel.
They are, and I imagine they're doing that for the internet purposes, but I'm pretty sure that they're still going to air it on TV.
Yeah, let's face facts, people. It's Warner Brothers. They
they have killed shows before they ever made it to air before.
Oh, it's not even just that. Warner Brothers has been basically murdering the movie industry with the DCEU for a few years now. Look at what they keep doing. They keep making shit movies through the DCEU, and they keep pushing them. And just because one movie stood out above the rest as the best of all the DCEU, Wonder Woman, all of a sudden they think, oh, okay, well, we still have a massive loyal fan following, so we're going to continue with this horse shit.
That's more because they had already had a lot of that stuff in production. If you watch a lot of the Midnight's Edge stuff, they've been talking about a lot of the insider information, as a lot of the films that are still coming out for the DCEU are coming out because they're almost done. They were almost finished filming anyways.
No, yeah, it's for like Aquaman, The Flash, and I think a couple of others. It's understandable. They were already in production, but you know damn well that if they get just one good movie, despite it coming from a shitty ass fucking a shared universe like the DCEU, they're going to try to push to continue the franchise.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it depends how much money they've lost by that point.
Accurate.
Well, this is interesting.
What?
I just clicked on the guy's demo reel. From stuff he's worked on. Apparently, he's worked on like some anime projects, so that's interesting.
It's not as well. Yeah, it's his production reel. So this is stuff he's done in the past for other channels,
like Legend of Korra.
Yep,
that's pretty good. Space Dandy, that surprises me. I love Space Dandy, even though I've never finished watching the show.
I don't know who this black stripper chick is, but I kind of want to see.
It might be some personal work.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes to show he has got the chops to do some really great stuff. I just don't. You would think that, with this sort of pedigree of skill, even if he was told, all right, we want it in this like Steven Universe Cal Art style, please, you could make it better. I mean, there's a couple of shows that have that Cal Art style that are, it's distinctive in that it is Cal Art, so it still at least, has some consistency in how the characters are drawn and the animation style itself, the animation flow.
Well, all I ever really want to say is that, yes, I think this new Thundercats reboot is a mistake. I don't think it's fair to say that he's a talentless hacker or anything like that, because I know some people have said that. We know just by looking at his work, his quality of work here. He knows what he's doing. He's good at that. I'm pretty sure the studio is just not letting him flex his thing. That's just my opinion. I can't say with any certainty. I'm pretty sure he needs to keep his job, so he'll say like, "Oh yes, I'm quite proud," and all that.
I don't think I think you're giving him way too much credit. Yes, he clearly has talent. He clearly has the chops that is needed for an actually good cartoon and such. Look at what is on screen right now. But as for him doing what he's been doing, I don't think any studio has ever actually said to their creators, hey, when there's a lot of online backlash for this, I need you to shit on the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was not. I don't know if I'd say if there was a lot, but there was some backlash over the whole Teen Titans Go thing. A lot of people would prefer they just kept the old Teen Titans that they were working with, even though I thought the original Teen Titans show was cringe, and Go was like cringe plus ultra. It was very cringy. They'll do it anyways.
The original Teen Titans was actually good, though. You can say it was cringe, but it was actually good. It was a nice little, it was a nice happy marriage between Western style cartoons and anime. That's how I saw it, and it actually had really interesting character development, really interesting story, all kinds of good stuff. And it really gave, it birthed an entire new generation of kids who actually wanted to read comic books because of the Teen Titans, and it was really, really good. When they canceled it, unfortunately, it was because of the whole toy debacle bullshit. When Teen Titans Go came out, it was just a joke. It was nothing more than these little shorts that they showed between each episode of their new cartoons that they had out on Cartoon Network for a while, and so on and so forth. That was all it was. It was just a joke thing. It was just these mini shorts. And then eventually it was so popular that people wanted more and more of it, so it got its own show. Now, Teen Titans Go is an atrocity, yes, but I will be one of those people that actually admits it is a secret shame of mine, because I have actually enjoyed many episodes of Teen Titans Go. I actually watched quite a lot of that show with my niece because she's also a fan of Teen Titans Go. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's over the top, but it was entertaining for me. It was just something to watch, when nothing else was on and stuff. And it wasn't necessarily a horrible thing. It does kind of shit on the original that it came from, but at the same time, it had funny elements to it just because they were making jokes on every character ever. Well, every character in the DC universe and such. And now that Teen Titans Go has its own movie coming out, it's more depressing for somebody like me because of the fact that the original Teen Titans didn't even get that much of a shake. They had a movie, but it was never like a big silver screen type movie like we're advertising like it's going to come out in theaters and everything like that. No. It was a movie that was essentially straight to DVD. But it was good. And now Teen Titans Go gets the theater fucking treatment. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I agree, it is cringe. It's super fucking cringe. I hate myself for liking it so much.
I'm just glad my kids are past wanting to watch it.
No, they aren't.
The only one that still watches is the youngest for the most part.
Please tell me that you guys are going to be good parents and disown your children if they actually like that show. Harsh love is the only way to go about this.
My oldest has really gotten into watching Pokemon and Beyblade now.
Is that still a thing?
There's a whole new series of Beyblade, apparently.
Okay.
And it still makes me laugh because all I can think is you have villains that are fighting to take over the world with spinning tops. I would be the asshole with a gun.
I'm surprised they didn't make a show based around fidget spinners.
I'm sure if you were to Google it, you'd probably find someone that was trying to get it put through, and the someone in marketing realized, nah, this is going to be like a year, maybe two at most fad.
Okay, actually, I'm not even kidding. Some people did. Some people did make two different projects actually mocking the whole anime and taking stupid objects and you win off of it. There's a live action video clip that is done almost anime style, kind of like the live action Speed Racer, where this guy is competing in fidget spinner contests.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
and somebody even did a little manga strip of basically something just like that as well. And I'm like, God damn it. Don't do that. That's terrible. Oh, fucking some of the shit that we end up having to endure sometimes is just like, why?
The version that has shooting marbles to take over the world.
What?
Apparently, there's some robot anime that has shooting marbles as part of the plot.
Oh god.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it too. I don't want it to.
It's Japan. Is there a toy of it? Now there's an anime of it.
I think the closest we ever got to fidget spinner anime is that was featured in an episode of Pop Team Epic. And that's just all meme material. So, yeah. We're lucky in that sense.
Can you really call it luck?
Yeah, because it's not a full-fledged 26 episode anime.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where you have to spin it to summon your spin demon thingy. I don't know. We shouldn't give them any ideas.
Oh, believe me, they've probably already gotten really high and or really drunk and thought of that exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have this weird feeling that maybe, just maybe, the creators in Japan kind of just get stoned on the weekend and come up with like the goofiest shit imaginable. And it's just like, oh, I got a really good idea. What? How about we do a show about robots? It's been done before. Yeah, but they're going to rule the world with fidget spinners. Huh. What if we did it instead of fidget spinners? Some kind of stupid new toy that nobody actually fucking cares about. What about a classic? Ball in the cup!
Did it. We got us a show. Boys.
Cut, print, sell. Let's get Cartoon Network to give us $1 million to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all the keyframes there, Samaj. That means you only have to do one frame of drawing every 14 frames. We'll keep it to a classic 24 frames per second, and we'll ship it off to China to mass produce.
Yeah, they might do that. This is another show that's coming out. The Owl House. It's coming out from Disney. It's from. Here's the thing. Here's where I laugh at. You guys know that show Gravity Falls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I actually really like Gravity Falls, but that also has that art style. This is actually from the girlfriend of Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls. It's oddly enough being slightly marketed that way because each time there's this, it's always got Alex in there. It's like they didn't think it would sell without his slight involvement, even though they don't think he's involved at all. But it's very likely he's involved in everything, which is sort of weird. So I'm slightly looking forward to it because it feels like the new show from Alex Hirsch and his girlfriend.
Nope.
I don't know. It's very anime inspired. We'll see.
Yeah. It's got some interesting character to it. I'll give it that.
Yeah, there's been some interesting design. There's already a fan base, if you can even call it that, so early on.
Let's be honest. At this point, every stupid idea has a fan base behind it.
I suppose. The cartoon, I can sort of understand why the cartoons on this side of the globe have gone in the direction that they have. And it's partially, I believe, because we've been overly censored and overly politicized in our media. A lot of cartoons, like back in the Thundercat days, in order to get Thundercats on, they had to have those like lessons at the end of every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember, kids, police are your friends, or all that.
And knowing's half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Exactly. They because they had all this violent stuff going on, even though it was like with laser beams and no one was actually getting hurt. They had to do all this stuff to make it work just to get it on TV. And that was also because like toys around that or cartoons around that time, or rather, the laws had just been changed, and that you cannot make a cartoon that is designed to sell toys, because that makes it a giant advertisement. Advertisements cannot be sent to kids. Now they recently, at that time, they changed that law and said, no, that's okay, you're all right, that's fine, so long as it's so and so guidelines and whatnot. And then you get your GI Joes and your Thundercats and all that stuff. That's why these shows seem so weird with all this like vehicles and fantasy and all this other kind of nonsense. You would think it's silly because it's designed to sell toys, but then they have to try and make it work. But that's how
part of the reason. Part of the reason here in the U.S. the GI Joe and Thundercats and He-Man had those lessons at the end was also because of the hour that those cartoons would come on fell in a category of time that in the U.S. at that moment in history, actually any cartoon that was on had to qualify as educational. If it had been at a different hour, it wouldn't have been as big a deal, but they wouldn't have hit the target demographic as they thought at that hour, which would have been the kids they were shooting for.
Right, and that totally makes sense. And I think like right now, if you watch cartoons, that you don't get those little lessons because cartoons are nowhere near as violent as they used to be, like back in the 90s and all. And even in the 90s, they laxed on all that. I mean, back then we had like gargoyles. They didn't have any of those play lessons. They had plenty of violence in that show.
That's true.
It was freaking amazing, gargoyles.
Oh,
yeah, but the lessons were throughout the show itself. You know, there were lessons, but they didn't have to get at the very end of they realized that kids were smart enough to realize, oh, if you do something like lie, you know, there could be consequences. That's part of the show. You know, the whole idea of show not tell.
That's true, and that was actually the genius of the whole show, how they managed to work all that in there. I freaking love that. And other such shows didn't really need to focus on that, but nowadays action shows, I don't think they know what to do with it, and so they just overly censor it. And so, like, we used to get things like Justice League and like the Batman animated series, and they all had a lot of that. But that too was all very smartly written kind of dialogue and lessons. Nowadays, they just dumb it down. I mean, it's safer. I could sort of see why they would go in this direction. Like, you could have something like Teen Titans Go, which has no real violence whatsoever. It's just silly goofiness, and you don't have to worry about censors then, opposed to, let's say, like a Justice League. Like, you may have to censor that or have lessons and all that stuff. So I could sort of see why cartoon shows wouldn't have all that epic violence. I mean, even in like only things like the movies can you really get away with it. Like The Incredibles is coming out. That's going to have a fair bit of violence in there. And I would throw Big Hero 6 under that same category, except that's just filled with social justice nonsense.
I think what we're seeing, the reason anime is becoming so popular is because it's very story driven. You know, typically because they're trying not to do as much animation to a degree as they can. That's why they're turning to doing a lot of computer animation to cut down on drawing and so on for a lot of it. And they're more than happy to have violent death if it's appropriate for the story.
Well, and also like with anime, it like women look like women. They have curves and they have shape. And depending on the show, the men are like men. You watch something like Dragon Ball Z; those are muscles. Someone should tell these people there at Thundercats Roar what muscles are.
I don't
Did you
think
not
they
see
know what
like,
a man is?
Like if you watch Thundercats, I mean that was a mostly male-driven show, lots of male characters. They were fucking ripped. All right.
Oh yeah.
You knew what muscles look like. in this new Thundercats, they're like jello. Like what? There's nothing to them, and especially in Chitara, that's ugh. Is that even a woman?
I don't know.
It's so androgynous. And also they cut her hair. She used to have like lovely, like long flowing hair. Nope.
It's all shit.
So how long before Chitara comes out as a ardent feminist and chastises all the male characters for mansplaining at some point?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't realize she's a woman. She probably thinks she's a man. Someone has to explain. No. That thing between your legs or lack of. All right, that means you're a woman. She's the squirrel girl of the Thundercats. She doesn't know she's a girl.
I don't know. Damn it. Because now you know they're going to do that. There's going to be, like, in episode 1, somebody is going to be like, excuse me, Sam? I'm not sure what to refer to you as. And then she's just going to respond with, like, yes. And that's it. That's all it is. Chitara, like, is going to be so fucking horribly...
Chitara's identifiers are Zer, Z.
They put that in, even as a joke. I'm just going to go to the studio and I'm going to strangle the creator, just like in the fucking thumbnail for this goddamn video.
Indeed. Well, fuck. Even in other shows of a similar cutesy art style, like let's say Adventure Time, you know who's a woman. All right, they dress like women. They might still have that same almost stick figure like art style and figure to them, but they still have like some curves and long hair and completely and utterly perform as a woman. All right, you know what it is. It's like they stand out. It's a little hard not to notice.
Oh, do you think the reason they're calling it Thundercats Roar because Ho would be triggering?
Yes.
And they're gonna go Thundercats Roar.
Yep.
Last thing you want to see is a bunch of like overly sensitive mothers going, "My kid keeps calling me a hoe."
Oh man, I want to see that so badly now. Like, I want that to be a thing. Please make it a thing.
Well, given the current state of parenting nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised if most mothers these days are hoes.
Well, earlier today on Proper Villains Live, we did watch a few videos that might kind of give that sort of idea.
I believe it. I don't even need to question it. I'm like, yeah, I can see why. I have a couple people on my Facebook, and like I could say friends. I'm one of those secret people that have to keep my opinions to myself. And they were constantly talking about polyamory and how it's a great lifestyle, and they've done all this. And I'm like, didn't you just have a kid last year? And it feels super awkward. But, that's why I have to keep all my opinions to myself.
I had to unfriend someone after one of the drawings I did. I posted to Facebook, and I'm not the best artist, but his complaint was she's got nipples. Mind you, it was the initial sketch before I even added clothing.
She's got nipples?
Yeah. That apparently required a diatribe in my Facebook mentions about how, it's objectifying. I'm like, it's a sketch. You do understand you don't get to be good at drawing by pretending there aren't genitals and, breasts don't exist. I mean, if you want to draw the female form, you have to practice,
Yeah, it's rather important to know this stuff. Granted, it only makes like high school art class more awkward when you're trying to learn anatomy, and you're the teacher and you have to avoid that particular topic. But luckily, we have the internet, so it's like, avoid it if you want.
My life drawing teacher, she was nice. When she saw how terrible I was at drawing females, in general, like I didn't matter. I was just terrible at drawing women. So her response was, she's like, "Come with me. We're gonna go to the strip joint," and we went to the strip joint on amateurs night. She's like, "Bring your sketchbook and pencils."
God bless your teacher. Also,
Yeah.
Ruckus.
I want it so fucking bad. I don't know what this is from. I don't know what comic book this is, but I need this entire collection. I need all the Thundercats comic books, and I need this Pumira as an actual like Pumira character in like the cartoon. Like I need a good cartoon.
We should probably talk about the 2011 remake and why that didn't pan out the way that they thought it would.
Oh,
Because-
man.
Well,
Look.
the toys, the time frame, and the actual like here's the thing about that particular show. I haven't actually really seen it, but from what I have seen, it looks good, and from what I heard, the storyline is very well written, but somewhat more mature. With that said, that sounds like a show that should probably be on like an after school thing for older kids to watch.
Yeah.
But instead, it from what I've heard, it was a Saturday morning thing, and the time frame was moved around a lot because they didn't know when to show it.
Yeah, in its one season it had, they moved it around 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And that-
so
yeah.
So in this cartoon, like I'm just showing some things. This is Pumira from the original cartoon. Not very good. Big pictures here and such. But this was her redone in the 2011. I would say it was an improvement.
Yeah. I don't think that the original was awful. I do love this new one, and I love the comic art as well. But women have curves. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, cartoon industry, but women they tend to have this thing called breasts, and you can't. No matter what you do, you can't avoid it. I even remember when the Legend of, or no, not well, yeah, it was Legend of Korra, but it was mostly Avatar had the controversy because characters had breasts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there was one character in particular who she did have large breasts, and she was a younger character, and everyone was making a big fuss over that. And other women had to come out and say, "Hey, look, I had large breasts when I was her age too. It's good to have some representation, that thing you like so much."
Right.
I'm like, yeah.
So no, you know what? Continue with your thought. We'll jump into the actual differences of 2011 and 84.
Sure. The other point I wanted to make was the Powerpuff Girls, and they have a teacher character in the original series, and cartoony and whatnot, but she still had some figures. The show's obviously a woman, and then there was that other character, Miss Bellum, the mayor's assistant,
Sarah Bellum.
Sarah Bellum, love her. She was an awesome character. And then in the new show, the remake, they took her out completely, and they took away the breasts of the teacher. She's flat chested now. She had some. She didn't have like big ones, but they gave her like a double mastectomy in the new one. It's not very forward thinking, if you ask me. Okay.
Of course. Korra had titties. Yes, Korra had titties, but that was one of those rare occasions where the cartoons were allowed to actually have realistic bodies and such like that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Legend of Korra was more of an afternoon time slot for
Yeah, that was definitely an afternoon cartoon, and it was geared and focused more towards the teenage audience,
teen demographic.
Yeah, and I think Avatar itself was also around that as well, which will explain why the show did well, because it was in the right time frame for the audience. Thundercats would have had that same success if it was in the time frame for that audience.
Oh yeah, especially since almost the entirety of both Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra were cartoons that deal with very adult and heavy tones, like war and rebellion,
death.
Yeah.
Just you can't really judge on that, but as he was pointing out with Powerpuff Girls and so many other cartoons, I miss him. He was such an interesting character.
And there was a lot more that was wrong with Powerpuff Girls, the new show, and there's a reason why that show has as much hate on it as it does. Is
that show still running?
I think so.
I do think it is. I think, but it's like the lowest viewer turnout. So I think it's not going to be around for much longer, which is fine. There's a lot wrong with it. Forget what I was going to say. I do want to say though, there could be something good that comes out of this Thundercats roar. I think with the fan backlash that's coming out there, it shows that there's still an audience out there. It shows there's still people out there who care about this property. And you might say the people on there who are working on this new show might be all upset. And I guess I could see why. I mean, you're working hard on something and everyone is already hating on it. But it could still be good in the long run for us. For instance, if let's say they decide to re-release the original Thundercats on Blu-ray or HD, whatever, well, that's good. I mean, you should buy that. Let them know that you like this. And same thing with if they ever release any of the other DVDs, like for the 2011, get that. Give them a message. Tell them that I want the original. It's the same thing that's going on right now with Marvel Comics. They have this True Believer line. They're only like $1 comics of classic Marvel stories. They're out selling the new stuff. And people are voting with their dollars. And it's sending a message. And change might take a little while, but change will happen. I'm pretty sure you can be sure that it will happen. And I think Thundercats will also have that. What change that's going to take, I don't know. If we're lucky, it'll mean possibly a live action movie.
I mean, live action could be interesting, but no. Honestly, no.
I think it depends on who runs it.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes when it comes to projects you're not too sure about, you just have to let it come and let it be as is and everything like that, and hope that it actually works out.
What I think would be great for Thundercats as a franchise would be if WB worked with Netflix to get a series that's, think about what they did with Castlevania. Could you get that team to do Thundercats?
Yeah, funny enough, Outlaw Bear Dog is in the chat basically saying that they could have fleshed out Korra a lot better if they had done it on Netflix. I actually agree with that.
I think so as well. I think with TV, they still have to worry about censors and concerned parent groups. And I think with Netflix, you have a lot more freedom. With that said, though, you can tell there's still that concern about more mature stuff. Like, I love Castlevania, but you can tell they didn't have much money to work with. That's why you only got 4 episodes.
True.
But what we got was amazing, and the fans loved it. But I do understand the concern. So maybe there needs to be like a pilot project, test out things, have little animated shorts, and people can vote on what they want to see. Granted,
my avatar changed already.
Cool. Although they did do that at Warner Brothers a little while ago. I think it was called the DC Nation. They did a series of shorts that would determine whether or not they would make animated movies and whatnot. They had this really, really good Wonder Woman short where she didn't have an invisible plane. She had an invisible car. And they got the artists who worked on the Tron Uprising to animate it. It was it was in the Amazons had Jeeps they would drive around and it was a weird little short, but I loved it. And most people did, but they didn't greenlit that. They greenlit the shorts for Teen Titans Go. So even though fans wanted this other thing.
But back to the Thundercats 2011. Unfortunately, it didn't do very well because it didn't get the views. That's one of the reasons. One of the main reasons why it never lasted beyond season 1. It wasn't getting the views that the studio wanted, and that actually hurts a bit because again, I watched all of the episodes and then little specials that they had before the official launch day of the 2011 Thundercats reboot, and the creators of that show, the animators, the voice actors, and the producers and all that stuff, they were all huge fans of the original Thundercats, and they put a lot of passion, love, and care into the reboot. And for some reason, for some god-awful reason, because it wasn't the original, people stopped caring about it within the first 5 episodes and just stopped watching it. Meanwhile,
it wasn't that they stopped caring about it, Brock. You have to remember, Cartoon Network change the airtime constantly within
yeah.
a couple episodes of it airing. So you'd be like, oh, it's 9 o'clock and I'm watching me some of that new Thundercat. Where's the new Thundercat episode? Did it get canceled already?
Yeah.
And it would be on at like midnight or 6 in the afternoon. They changed it 3 or 4 times, and that it makes it impossible to keep up with it at that era because not many people had DVRs at that time. Now it wouldn't be as big a deal because they'd be like, oh, I must have missed it. And then they'd look at their DVR and go, oh, I guess it aired earlier today.
Yeah, I actually had the benefit of having a DVR at the time. It wasn't my DVR, but I had the benefit of a DVR. And I got to watch every single episode when it came out. And dude, I loved every episode. The only thing that in that show I did not like was Panthro's arms getting cut off. That was it. That's, in all honesty, the only thing I can say that was bad about that was that really stupid plot where they cut off Panthro's arm and then gave him cybernetic replacement arms, despite the fact that he was still technically connected to his arms in the other dimension. That made no sense to me. But at the same time, I was interested to see where they were going with it. Again, did not like it, but was like, okay, maybe they're going to have a really good point. Like maybe there's going to be some kind of interesting thing going on, and maybe the arms are actually going to save Panthro's life multiple times, but he's still going to miss his original arms, whatever the case is. I didn't care, but it was really, really good. I especially liked it because the characters, they had more depth to them than the original. Now, in the original, you saw in the very first episode, all of the Thundercats on Thundera, they're all naked. But they seem to have these sort of lines on them designed to kind of give you the impression that they have clothing, but they're naked. Because later in that episode, Jaga actually bestows upon them clothing. And it's really fucking awkward to realize, like, as a kid, especially in the 80s, you realize, so wait, Chitara was naked in that scene? Interesting. Which is even more confusing because later on, when you meet Bengali, Linkso, and Pumaira, they're wearing clothing inside of their capsules. So it's very confusing because of the fact that there's 3 Thundercats who aren't naked, who are clothed, and then later just get different clothing. And I'm like, okay, I'm confused. But in the 2011 cartoon, it didn't do so well because of what Igor pointed out. The timing, people weren't getting the views. They didn't even bother with a toy line at one point. And it just kind of sucks because that was actually a really, really good show.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it. I especially love the fact, like I pointed out earlier, Pumaira doesn't do shit in the original show. She's just another adult female character there. That's it. She has some skill with like a slingshot, I think, or maybe she just throws like little explosive pellets, kind of like Wily Kit and Wily Cat and stuff. But she really doesn't do a damn thing. In the 2011, they brought her early into the series in season 1 instead of bringing her along with Bengali and Linkso. And they made her interesting. She turns traitor on them. Because in the very beginning of the show, Groon, as everyone knows, is already a traitor of the Thundercats. So when he comes back as a conquering hero and such, it turns out he turned on the Thundercats and Thundera, which is the kingdom. And so now it's being overrun by the lizard folk, including, Slide, who was the leader of the lizard folk. And this is all at the behest of Mum-Ra. What you later find out is Pumaira, as a kid, gets lost. She is about to die. And instead of actually dying, she's found by Mum-Ra, is made to basically fight in an arena so she can become tough and strong and all that stuff. And Mum-Ra basically turns her against the Thundercats. And she, for many years, was pretty much like, a Mum-Ra spy, just like Groon was, apparently. And I'm just like, that's so fucking interesting. That's really fucking cool, because then there could be that redemption story for Pumaira later on. But of course, it never got to get to that point because season 1, and that's it. Oh, also, fun fact: the voice actor for Lion-O from the original 1980s cartoon was, in fact, the voice actor for the King of Thundera, not Lion-O, but the King of Thundera, his father, in the show. Bless you.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
So I just thought that was really cool because it's just like when the Transformers movies were coming out, and Michael Bay managed to get the actual original voice actor for fucking Optimus Prime to be the voice of Optimus Prime yet again. Like that's tugging on your nostalgia heartstrings right there.
Yeah, that really worked out well. I'm glad they did that. I saw in the last movie there was concept art that Optimus Prime was supposed to get like changed. He would become Optimus Primal with a gorilla outfit or robot mode or something. I was so excited for that, and then it turned out that they didn't do that. I also just watched the last night Transformers movie earlier today. It's so bad.
Yeah, don't you don't want to leave the Transformers alone at this point. That's all I can say.
I hear that Hasbro is doing their own film division, so they're talking about rebooting Transformers, which I'm okay with because it's Hasbro, the guys who own Transformers. I'd rather they run it because most of the other stuff is up to the studio. Because when you sign your license away to these movie studios, they get to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
You hope it's going to do well. You don't know if it's going to do well.
Yeah, unfortunately, I sometimes will hope a little too much when it comes to certain projects. Like, I was never really a huge fan of Transformers when I was a kid. I just really liked the toys. The cartoon itself didn't necessarily interest me all that much. I think I was more of a G.I. Joe fan because I also loved the toys of G.I. Joe, but I also really loved the cartoons. And to be honest, sci-fi laser guns in a war during the 80s seemed to make more sense to me than a robot that transforms from a regular car to a two-story behemoth. There's a lot of components that don't seem to, click there in my head.
The only thing I mean, some of that I'm okay with. The only thing I couldn't wrap my head around was Megatron turning into a handgun.
That was okay. As a kid, you have to think, Megatron, what is he? He's got that big ass cannon. He must turn into a tank, and then he transforms into a giant handgun. I am confused.
I was confused as all hell. I'm like, how? But he's so big. How? But how?
Also, who fires him?
Starscream for the most part, which is also kind of weird. I remember I'm thinking, this guy's duking it up with Optimus Prime, and he's a fucking truck. What?
Right.
How does this work?
Right. So when the Transformers movies were coming out, I didn't have that much hope for them. But when the G.I. Joe movies were coming out, I had hopes for them, and then I was very let down.
Well, and that too. That's another one that they could redo. And there's a couple movies they can make. I know they're already starting on Mask.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting one. Also, can I just point out that it's called Mask, but nobody wears a mask. They wear helmets.
Yeah, well, good point. Maybe they'll address that.
I think Mask is actually an acronym for like Mobile Assault Squad something. I think that's what Mask actually stands for. Mm-hmm. But like, I just love that Robot Chicken skit where they do the mask opening with the toys and all that stuff, and it's just a real quick clip of like, whose mask is this? And no one says anything. It's just like, by the way, these are actually helmets. They're not masks. Why do we call them that? That's it. That's the skit. It was great.
But who knows? Maybe they'll actually wear masks or something, and a helmet over top of that.
Maybe, yeah.
I will say this. I hope that they don't do, because I'm getting sick of seeing this. I hope they don't do like the Iron Man thing where you get to see inside their helmets and see the actors act and have little like lights and circles and doodads, holograms all around them. I don't want that. I just don't want that. I'm sick of that. I think it was that the new reboot show that did it for me. I'm done.
But you said that they're going to be with mask, right? That's just. Are they?
Yeah, we get the joke, Brockus. We get the joke. We get it. I don't know. I just want to stop. The other thing I know they're working on, and that's from a different studio, and I think they're doing it so they can retain the rights, is He-Man. Because they got a guy who's directing it who's known for pumping out movies fast, and you have to pump out a movie in order to retain the rights, which is what they did with Fan Four Stick, so they can keep it. So I don't know. There's a He-Man movie coming out. I have no faith in it whatsoever. I just want a good one.
All right, good night, guys. I gotta get up in the morning and take care of the kids. So take it easy.
Take care.
Take it easy, man. But that's kind of like the sad thing about what's going on with Hollywood right now when you actually look at it, and you start to realize Hollywood is completely out of ideas. They have no original bone in their bodies anymore. They can't come up with a new idea to save their life. So they're taking old popular things and they're rehashing it, they're rebooting it, they're revamping it, whatever the hell you want to call it. Because, I mean, look at some of the projects that have come out. We had a reboot RoboCop movie. It was fucking boring as shit.
Because it's PG.
Yeah,
you can't do PG with an R-rated title.
That's true. But like visually, it looked interesting as hell, you know, and it did have a pretty decent story. But at the same time, it was so fucking slow and boring. And then I just stopped caring.
I don't think that it's that Hollywood's out of ideas. I think that the way that it's run is so different. Like these movies nowadays are super expensive. They're more expensive now than they've ever been. Even though the technology is cheaper and all that, there's so much that they have to pay for, and they have to compete in multiple markets. Like you have to have like a lot of these movies, they try their best to get aired in China, and it has to reach these certain demographics and hit these certain beats and notes. Mm-hmm. It's easier to get something that has an already established IP, already established fan base, and you can work with that, than it is to create something original. Something original, you have to wait for the fan base to build up, which could also be the motivation for why they're doing the Thundercats show, because the fan base is already there. Unfortunately, they didn't count on the fan base being angry.
Dude, yeah, okay. The fan base was already there. Some of us some of the fan base even grew to larger portions because of the 2011 reboot that they did. What they're doing now is essentially shitting on the fan base because they're giving us not Thundercats, they're giving us some bastardized, unholy version of the Thundercats, and they're telling us, here's the Thundercats. And the fans said no. And the creators and studios said, yes, you better accept this. And we're still saying, no, fuck off you and your man bun.
You know what? The greatest problem in all this, and I mentioned this before, that the creators are not taking the fans' concern into account. They're just saying, like, you just don't like it because it's something different, and something different is scary, or you're a bunch of man babies, or something. They're insulting the fan base, and I don't think that's appropriate. And it's the same thing that happened in comics, and now we're having it in cartoons. I don't think that's a good idea. It's not a good strategy, and
it wasn't even just comic books, dude. Like, dude, this has actually been going on for several years. This actually even goes all the way back to Gamergate.
Well, yeah, I was just using a more recent term because some people might, because Gamergate's getting kind of old now.
It's so fucking old.
Yeah, and some people have moved on, but we're still dealing with comics. And
true.
The thing with cartoons has actually been around for a while. But what's different is that we already had stuff that was creating its own IP. Like Steven Universe, it's its own thing. And that's why
I actually have a fun fact about Steven Universe too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Not a lot of people know this about Steven Universe. It actually got canceled after its first season.
Oh, I can see that. I can
No,
believe
yeah.
it.
This Steven Universe is actually much older than people might think it is. So some people might think that Steven Universe is like what 5 seasons strong and it's only about 5 years. Actually, it's a little older than that. I think it's about 7 years old. Because back around the time they had attempted the reboot of the Thundercats show, they had apparently attempted a new cartoon that was called Steven Universe, and it only made one season because there was way too much controversy around the black chick character. I'm not shitting you. It got canceled because the leader of the superhero team was a black chick. That was, as far as I remember, my friends telling me, because that was some of the controversy that was being spread around the internet. Now, that could have just been fans claiming that that was what was actually happening, but my actual theory is what really happened is the show was shit. It's still shit, but the show was complete shit. No one cared. No one was watching it. No one gave two fucks about Steven Universe. But about a year and a half later, there was such a massive amount of a fan base crawling out of the internet begging for Steven Universe to come out that eventually they got a second season of Steven Universe, and the franchises continued from there. But it did originally go the way of Star Trek in its first season. Canceled after the first season because no one cared. No one was watching. The only difference is Star Trek actually was like a 5-year gap instead of, or maybe it was a 10-year gap instead of an actual like couple of year gap. But yeah,
That's actually not all that surprising. I mean that happens all the time in animation. They'll start like they'll make a pilot or they'll change it up. I know that Reboot had like multiple different small short films just to try and get picked up so they can do they could get the actual show that they got. And I think it was like 5 years in the making. They had to wait for the quality of the animation to improve to the point where people would invest money into it.
yeah,
Which it happens. I mean, you want to make something and turn it into a franchise or whatever. It takes a while. It doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. But Steven Universe, you can have some respect in it because they did their own thing. They didn't take something else that already existed. They made their own thing. But I will say, though, they borrow heavily from other shows like Dragon Ball and other such things, just so they could pander to a certain fan base, or at least to the internet, I guess.
yeah. I don't understand why that's like, okay, we get the purpose of, I guess, some pandering, to a certain degree, I suppose. But here's what confuses me. If you actually run the numbers, the loudest voices demanding certain things, pandering and such, are actually some of the lowest numbers for the actual audience that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, studios still cave in and give into what they want. They still give in to what their demand is. Like, for example, Marvel Comics has been pandering to people that don't even read their comic books for years now. And these people still don't read their comic books. No one suddenly decided to start reading comic books simply because Squirrel Girl is now a misshapen, buck-toothed fucking tomboy of a weird-ass character that looks like it deserves an Archie comic rather than a Marvel comic. And that Kamala Khan is like, the new hot button character that Marvel keeps pushing but doesn't know what to do with because she's just a terrible character to begin with. But for some reason, Marvel keeps using her every fucking where.
I'm pretty sure some of that is an after effect from the Concerned Mothers group that would often go after these places, and a lot of them have like these companies have been around for a while. And when the Concerned Mothers were boycotting this, they wouldn't let their kids buy the comics. They wouldn't do all the other kind of things, and then they created like the comic code to try and make things to appease them. And then they decided to kick that out. I think they're well aware of certain backlashes, and I think that the industry is scared of these backlashes coming back and affecting them in their sales as they probably did years ago. And then some people will come over and take charge and go, that's really not that big a concern. It's a small group.
Yeah, but that's the part that's still confusing because like for the most part it's just a bunch of, misinformed preteens and teenagers and college students. Those are the ones who are actually making some of the biggest noise. And even then, it's a very small percentage of who is actually making these demands. Like the I'm sure the gay and lesbian community would absolutely love a character to idolize in Marvel and DC, and they now actually have a few. But did they really want to co-opt a beloved character like Iceman and essentially force his character to suddenly become gay in like the most piss poor way excuse I've ever fucking seen? Like all of a sudden this psychic just says, no, you're gay. And all of us, oh, well, yeah, I guess I am. I love dick now. What? That doesn't make sense. And even then, they've established in the stories that those two Bobby Drakes are not the same Bobby Drakes. They're actually from two different universes. So one would not automatically affect the other. But for some reason, Marvel decided that that's exactly what happened, which is very fucking confusing. It's even more confusing when you actually think about it. So it's just like, was there a point to it? No, there really wasn't. I honestly would much rather that if there's going to be a gay superhero, that it's a superhero who's gay from the start and they're new and they're fresh and they're awesome and they're interesting. I want something like a Miles Morales type character, a character that even if you do put them in the mantle of another hero, a character who is an actual character on their own. Miles Morales is not some cheap ass fucking carbon copy of Peter Parker, or Peter Parker suddenly is black. No, Miles Morales has been and always will be his own individual character, and he is a damn good character. I don't understand why Marvel couldn't actually have those kinds of ideas, but no, they don't. And we see this far too often. We see this way too often where they take something that already exists and they pretty much just kind of piss all over it and make it their own and say it's better now. Is it really better?
Well, I think that there's a couple problems that are coming up there. There was what I mentioned earlier about fear of backlash from concerned mothers, but I also think that those people who have those particular fears don't realize that those concerned mothers were those kids who couldn't get their comics because of their mothers. They're adults now, and they can buy their own comics. Thank you very much. But so I don't think that problem is a problem. But there probably is someone in there who does still think that. But I do think that the main problem happens to be is the idea that the studio or the companies have this mentality of always hiring new people, so that way it stays fresh and stays new, and they give young people a chance to get their name out there and everything. Like you might see an artist who doesn't get a lot of work and they're not in a lot of comics anymore. You might think, oh, how horrible they're like this. Maybe they're homeless. Maybe they're this. No, they got established names, and they do pretty well for themselves. Like for me, I do like commissions for like $20 or whatever because I don't have a name recognition. There aren't people with deep wallets so like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get something from Samaj. But someone like Greg Capullo or Todd McFarlane, they can live off of commissions because they can charge upwards into the hundreds.
I think his name is actually pronounced Capullo.
Yeah, and that could be. But he could do commissions. Doesn't have to do comics anymore if he wanted to. He could do commissions. He could do like a commission a day, and probably make like 500 or do like 3 commissions or which is like what the worth of 3 panels of comics. He could do that and probably make like $1,000 a day if you wanted to. There are artists out there who do that, and as such that leaves a vacuum of who's going to illustrate these comics, and that gives new artists the opportunity to come in. And normally that'd be something that I would come in and maybe I'd get a job that way, and then I can retire and just do commissions for the rest of my life, because that would be like name recognition. And it'll be good when I die or whatever, because then they can sell it for a lot more. But these new artists who come in there, they come in there because they have the same politics. They know the people who work at these places. It's because we have a whole generation raised in these politics of deep leftist ideologies and unfortunately, that doesn't make for good storytelling. But they think they're doing great things.
Real quick, apparently Outlaw Bear Dog just broke her fucking toe.
Wait, what now?
Yes, she just typed into the chat, "I just broke my fucking toe," followed up with "literally," and I'm like, okay, did somebody say something to trigger her? Because that's I don't know. Maybe I got her overly excited because I typed in the chat while we were chatting about this that Batwoman needs more exposure. When I was talking about gay characters that the gay and lesbian community can idolize, Batwoman is on my list of awesome characters that is a gay or lesbian character, which realistically, when you think about it, they're just gay. Batwoman is a really awesome character. She needs more exposure. She hardly has her own book, and she's hardly in anybody else's books. Like, dude, I barely see this character even pop up. And as the Bitching Witch, I believe, pointed out that DC even does bisexual characters better. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are two well-known bisexual women. And we know that they're bisexual women because even in the comic books, Poison Ivy actually hit on Bruce Wayne quite a bit. So we know she does like hot dog, but she does enjoy taco as well.
Well, she has to watch her weight. That's why she's going after the salad. That's terrible. It's sorry to hear that out loud. Yeah. Do what you can about that. And to everyone else in the chat, press F for respect.
Press F for Outlaw's poor toe.
Yeah, goddamn, which toe was it?
I'm guessing it was either the big toe or the pinky toe.
Fuck, that's terrible. Oh.
Even in yes, the Batman the Animated Series hinted at Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn being lesbian lovers at one point or another, multiple times. And I think the 6th and 7th season, when there was far more exposure of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and it kind of gave this impression that there is a possibility of the two of them actually hooking up in the future, which they did follow up in the comic books because Harley Quinn is a very sexualized person. But in the cartoon, Batman the Animated Series, Poison Ivy hit on Bruce a lot. And I mean, like, almost every time they encountered each other. Anytime Poison Ivy broke out, she eventually, like, hit on Bruce at some point or another. And I believe that's because it goes back to the whole concept of Bruce Wayne is the epitome of what a man is and should be.
I don't know. A woman hitting on a wealthy man, color me shocked. Well, sorry, that's a bit nicked out there.
for the record, none of them know that he's actually a wealthy man.
What, Bruce Wayne?
No, they don't know that. Well, it's not that Pamela Isley actually hits on Bruce Wayne. She does in the beginning before she goes full Poison Ivy, but Pamela Isley and Harleen Quinzel actually hit on Batman more than they hit on Bruce. But also, both of them have collectively hit on Bruce as well.
Quick second there. I'm hearing all these snuffles. Who's in the room with you?
Oh, that's my sister in the background.
Oh, okay. Just I had to double check. So I make sure I wasn't going crazy.
No worries. But yeah, DC. I will give DC so much credit, which is, I think, because of Marvel's handling of the fans and the way they've been handling their characters, it's pushing me to become more of a DC fan. John Constantine, another perfect character to actually point out. John Constantine, I don't know how long he's been bisexual, but he's essentially a character that has had sex with many different things. Some you couldn't even really call human because it wasn't human or humanoid. He's fucked a lot of demons. But Constantine is a fucking badass character.
Depending on the demon, yeah, I'd fuck him too.
Yeah, and dude, Constantine is an amazing character. And again, he is an openly bisexual character. He has more of a pull towards women, but he doesn't shy away from dudes. Indeed. And he's a very interesting character. Again, DC does LGBT characters so much better. And then their TV shows shit all over that. Their TV shows make LGBT characters so fucking terrible.
So we've been sort of all over the place, but it's like midnight in my area. Should we start talking about Deadpool and then wrap it up?
Sure enough. Yeah, if you want to talk about Deadpool, we'll go ahead and go into a bit of Deadpool. You and I have obviously seen the movie. I want to stay away from not a whole lot of spoilers, or at least give enough of a spoiler warning right now.
Okay. Can we spoil like one thing, or do you think we should leave it? Do you know the thing I'm talking about? Big.
A certain character.
Certain big guy.
Yeah. I think we'll leave that alone.
Fuck. All right.
No, I'm kidding.
Because
I'm kidding.
okay,
If you want to, we can.
Well,
definitely
it's
bring it up.
all right. First of all, maybe we'll talk about the non-spoiler parts about that. First off, like it, dislike it, meh. What's your opinion there?
Oh, I absolutely love Deadpool too. It's better than the first movie.
See, I kind of have the opposite opinion. It's very much a meh movie.
Bitch.
I have a hard time liking it, and I think the reason why I have a hard time liking it, because you can tell Ryan Reynolds has more power than he did before, because it seemed like no joke was cut, and it sort of felt like it was a little like some jokes probably should have been cut. And I'll give you an example. A character is dying towards the end of the movie, and you're like, and he keeps like you thinking, oh, I'm dead. Oh, and don't forget this. Okay, I'm dead. Oh God, and you would think that that's sort of funny, but it drags, and it just keeps dragging, and it keeps dragging, and it's like, how many times are you gonna go on with this joke? And I will spoil this thing because otherwise you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Dubstep. All right, first time I liked it. It was good and all that kind of stuff, and then it came back with the exact same song, and I'm like, so you're doing the same joke twice? Why would you do that? It seemed kind of unnecessary, and it kind of grinded on me.
Okay. So you might not have enjoyed the death scene with Deadpool specifically. Spoiler alert. Deadpool dies, air quotes, in the movie for reals. But here's the thing. It's Deadpool. First of all, he's not going to die like a normal person where it's actually all tear-jerking and everything like that. It's going to be fucking funny. Second of all, it's Deadpool. The fact that they were even willing to do a death scene for him is pretty much like, okay, we're going to actually kill the character, but we're not going to kill the character. Let's be honest. So that whole scene itself, that whole scene itself is, some people saw it coming just because it's in the comic books. And if you've ever actually read Deadpool comic books, you would know that Deadpool essentially dies a lot. He's trying to die permanently, but he can't. So they were going to, of course, make those jokes in the fucking movie. You didn't enjoy it, and that's fine. I thought it was fucking hilarious. And it's because it's Deadpool. Only he can actually make a death scene funny.
And I get
and
that.
Not at the same time, actually.
Well, and I get that he's all jokes, and that's sort of what I'm expecting. But I'm also expecting, like, when you have an emotional scene, let the emotional scene be the emotional scene. Just because, especially because it strongly was tied into to another character, and it was important for that character to learn a lesson through all of this. But you're making this big joke in amongst all. It's sort of like, why should anyone take you seriously? And because we, the audience, wouldn't. But also, you're looking at it from the perspective of this other character, and you're like, why would he take it seriously? It just didn't work. It didn't jive.
True.
With that said, though, I mean those are some of the negatives. Some of the jokes didn't last. Like there's a scene where certain body parts are being regrown, and he's on said body parts. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was one of the best scenes in the whole fucking movie, man. Come on.
All right, it was the first half, and then the second half when he's trying to walk on them. I'm like, oh, okay, you're this is dragging on. And they have all this big music, and it's like every step. I'm like,
it was still fucking funny.
It was funny, but for me, like the humor on that wore out after that. So, like I said, certain jokes drag, They don't have to drag. They don't need to drag, but they drag, and that sort of took me out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so those are some of the negatives, but I do want to say, from a complete and utter positive, Josh Brolin as Cable.
Oh yeah.
Mwah, mwah, loved it. Perfect. Don't ever leave this role.
Real quick, Metaphorist actually brought up a couple of questions that I will actually address in a little bit, but I'm going to talk more about Deadpool for a minute. Don't think I didn't see those questions, bro. Yes, Josh Brolin, Cable, perfection.
At first I thought I wouldn't like it because I saw the outfit was very muted in colors. I'm used to Cable having at least some blue to him. This guy's like almost all gray. It's like varying tones of brown and gray, and it visually I was very upset with it. With that out of the way, though, like as a character, he nailed it. He nailed it so well. I was so happy.
I think again, slight spoiler. There is an actual joke in the movie, because if you've ever read the comic books or if you've ever seen pictures in the comic books, Cable is actually a very tall character. He's a very tall man. I believe Deadpool is supposed to stand at about 6'2", roughly. Deadpool is like 6'5", 6'6", somewhere around there. I'm sorry. Cable is 6'5", 6'6". Josh Brolin is not that actually tall, but in the movie, they make multiple jokes, or at least 2 jokes, about Cable's actual height. Because at one point, Cable shouts out something to the effects of, he's only 5'11". He's nothing like in the comic books. In the comic books, he's a huge guy. And I couldn't stop laughing about that because it was too perfect.
Oh, I think the other thing that did bother me about the show, because one of the runaway stars and one of the runaway elements of the first movie that everyone loved was Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She had like less screen time and did less in this movie than she did in the first one. I fucking loved her. She was like an angsty teenager, and everything about her was just entertaining. I loved hearing the back and forth between her and Deadpool, like an edgy teen with a I don't give a shit superhero. I'm like, you guys are like, it was awesome.
It was actually great.
Yeah, but then in this one, she's like in there for 2 scenes, literally like 2 scenes. There's one in the mansion and then one towards the end. I'm like, why? Everyone loved her. Everyone freaking loved her. Next to nothing.
I would argue that she actually had more screen time this time around, but she did have less lines. She didn't really speak that much in the movie. But still, what they did do with her was absolutely hilarious. I did enjoy that. I kind of want to bring up, okay, the Asian chick in the movie. I couldn't stop cracking the fuck up every damn time they showed her because I knew it was coming, and you knew it was coming too.
Yeah, I loved her. I absolutely loved her. She was the other one that kind of stole the show for me. Every moment that she's on there,
it was just wonderful. It's like they're opposites.
It's like
couple.
What was her name? Like Yukio?
Yeah, it was Yukio. Hi Yukio. Hi Wade. She was just too fucking cute.
It was adorable watching her, and even though like Wade's practically insulting her, like calling her like My Little Pony and all that stuff, she's like, I like him, and she's all bubbly and cheerful, and I'm like, I love this chick. I can't hate her.
Yeah.
With that said, though, I do have to ask, because I tried to do some research before the movie, and then after the movie, I have no idea who this character is.
I'm not surprised. I'll actually give you a little bit of a explanation to that. Yukio is a character that was introduced into the 90s comic books when they were diving into Wolverine's past. Specifically, Yukio is actually from the Silver Samurai story arc when Wolverine has to go back to Japan, and he runs into his ex-girlfriend / ex-wife, Yoriko. No, I'm sorry, not Yoriko. Yoriko was Lady Deathstrike. I forget her name.
I type in the name and I do like a Google image search and type in X-Men and all that kind of stuff. I can't find any references in the comics. It's sort of weird. I can't find her. I can find plenty in the movies, But most of what comes up there is like from X-Men, the Wolverine solo movie when he goes to Japan.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't think this is the same girl. Can it be? Did they just change actors?
Technically, it's what the fuck? I clicked on the wrong thing. Mariko? Is that her fucking name?
It could be more. See, I'm super confused. I thought that there would be a lot more reference material.
Yes. Okay. I remember now.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, the backstory is you okay. Here's the reason why you actually can't find a whole lot of information on her. She's a throwaway character.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, when Yukio makes her first appearance in the comic books, it's in the 1990s when they decide to send Wolverine in his own little story back to Japan, where he encounters Mariko and, her betrothed husband, the Silver Samurai. In that story, Yoriko is actually a member of that clan that Mariko actually belongs to, and she is one of Mariko's bodyguards. She's basically just a ninja assassin. As time goes on, she kind of just fades away and disappears. And like I said, she's a throwaway character that never went anywhere. Marvel never really did anything with her. So she was just this highly skilled badass assassin. When they revamped the stories later on in the late 90s, I think it was, or the mid 90s, somewhere around there, they reintroduced Yuriko again later on, and she ends up actually being the actual bodyguard for Mariko. On top of that, she's actually one of the few people from that ninja clan that befriends Logan, like when he was in Japan and stuff like that. So Yuriko kind of has this sort of friendship with Wolverine. But again, she never really went anywhere. They never really did anything with her in the comic books. And then years later, she reappears once again. Anytime they go back into Japan and they cover the Silver Samurai and his ex-girlfriend and Wolverine's ex-girlfriend, Mariko, and all that stuff, Yukio eventually shows up because she's kind of in that story arc. In the Wolverine, the movie from 2013, she shows up again as Wolverine's bodyguard because she is Mariko's bodyguard, or she was specifically hired to protect and look over Logan the entire time. So Yukio has been and probably always will be a throwaway character that is deeply embedded into the comic books with Wolverine specifically. And since she was a character that they used in the Wolverine, might as well just randomly toss her into Deadpool 2 as the now girlfriend of Negasonic. Because why not?
Okay. Yeah, because Negasonic was also kind of I don't know if you'd say a throwaway character, but was a character.
Yeah, Negasonic Teenage Warhead was a character who never survived past the first issue she was introduced. She was a very powerful, I guess you could say pale blue skinned psychic who kind of dressed like uberly cyber goth or some shit like that. And she was, in that particular book, a new recruit for the X-Men, and she was Jean Grey's prized student because she was the most powerful of all the psychics that Jean Grey was training. However, in that particular issue, the mansion is attacked, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, along with several other students, new students, were fucking killed. So Negasonic Teenage Warhead was the ultimate throwaway character in the sense that she didn't even survive past the first issue she was introduced. Whereas Thunderbird survived 3 issues, died on the 3rd. Because, fuck these characters, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, but in the movie, what happened with Negasonic was they really wanted to have Cannonball, specifically his powers. And so they were gonna originally have Cannonball as Colossus's sidekick, but they had discovered and came across Negasonic Teenage Warhead's name and just could not resist. So they threw her in and gave her Sam Guthrie's powers. And wait, I believe Sam is his name. Anyways, there's several Guthries in the X-Men franchise and stuff, but basically they gave Negasonic Teenage Warhead Cannonball's powers, hence the character that we actually had in the movie and such like that. But yes, she was an absolute treat. She's wonderful.
Yeah, I liked her. Well, also, I think the other reason that a lot of people also gravitated towards Negasonic was because she had pretty much a classic X-Men outfit, which is something we don't get because most X-Men movies, they're all wearing like black biker outfits.
Right.
And which everyone freaking hates. And the closest we ever got was like First Class.
Yeah, dude, when you do the black leather biker outfits for everyone, it gets so fucking boring. One of the best things about the X-Men was that they had individual colorful costumes. Well, specifically in the 90s. The original, they all had color schemed costumes that were designed and shaped the exact same way. Everybody had that stupid fucking X across their chest kind of thing at one point, or they had it was just blue and yellow, and that was it. But like I prefer the 90s where everyone had their own individual look. Like Nightcrawler, he had that weird shoulder onesie thing.
See, part of the thing that makes these characters as cool as they are is that they ooze individuality. Yes, there's some uniformity in some of the color schemes and whatnot, but they're individuals. Like, for instance, they have the same color scheme for Wolverine as they do for Cyclops, but they have polar opposite in the idea, because like Cyclops is like overall blue with like yellow tights and a little straps here and there. Wolverine is overall yellow with like blue tights and arms showing and all that. And that shows that they're polar opposites.
Yeah.
And the same, not only in the polar opposites in the color scheme, they're opposites in ideology, they're opposites in viewpoints, they're opposite in how they would tackle a situation. And they were even opposites towards the end of their run, when Cyclops ended up becoming like evil and was killing people and whatnot. And then Wolverine ended up becoming in charge of the X-Men, or at least the mansion and whatnot. I mean, they became the opposite. One became the hero, the other became the villain. One was the leader, one was the foe. I mean, it was such a. It also echoed things like from Xavier to Magneto. They were also polar opposites, and it echoed that, which is why it made such a lovely little fitting thing that happened.
Yeah,
which is what needs to happen.
Yeah, and I.
That was a bizarre tangent about outfits for some reason.
Oh no! Trust me, Samaj, bro, I'm with you on that. There's a lot of things about comic books that people consistently look over and miss, and costumes are actually one of the most key elements in comic books. Look, for example, DC characters and their most famous heroes versus Marvel's characters and their most famous heroes. There's a major difference between the two. Whereas DC leans heavily on their individual heroes having their individual iconic symbols. The Superman S, the Batman Bat symbol, the Aquaman A, the Green Arrow, Wonder Woman's Wonder Woman design, right? These are all their individual symbols, and anyone who wears those symbols are clear and obvious affiliates with that particular hero, and that's all their major name characters. Then you look over at Marvel. Almost none of them have their individual fucking symbols. What would Thor's be? A hammer. Okay. What would Hulk's be? A green fist? Sure. What would Captain America's be? Clearly he has the shield, so he's one of those rare ones, but he's also got the A, so there you go. He's got double symbol. Iron Man, he's got the arc light, and well, that's it. But like, Marvel didn't care too much about actual superhero symbols. Sure, we have Spider-Man, and sure, there are a few characters like Captain Marvel that actually do wear a symbol on their chest to show significance of this is my symbol, this is who I am. I wear this, and I'm the hero kind of thing. But Marvel clearly didn't care that much about it. What they did instead was they gave you what you just made the comparison of, Magneto versus Xavier. What is the major difference between the two of them? Well, one is the most powerful mind in the world. He has no hair. He sits in a chair because he's basically paralyzed from the waist down and wears very nice suits. The other one is a megalomaniac who wears a helmet to keep the most brilliant mind out of, or the most powerful mind out of his head. And he wears a bright, colorful fuchsia-ass costume. Who's able to fly instead of just simply walk around. Opposites.
Exactly. You could also apply that to like Xavier and his brother, the Juggernaut, because he also is like, yeah, he's big and muscular, can walk around. Charles can't do that, but also the Juggernaut has to wear a helmet at all times. Otherwise, you know, that'll happen. You know,
that was another thing. Oh my god, I love the actual the opposing characters in Kane Marco and Charles Xavier. That's one of my personal favorites, actually.
The polar opposites thing. I mean, that's the way it sort of worked. Now we're talking about X-Men and stuff, and we got to get back to Deadpool.
We do. But real quick, the Bitching Witch wants me to actually go into a little bit of a thing, because she made a guy at a comic book store shit himself, practically, because she actually knows the origin of Wolverine. So, if anyone is unaware, Wolverine actually has an affinity towards redheads, and the reason for that is because back in the 1880s, when Wolverine was just a kid, his first ever love interest was a redheaded woman named Rose, and he had the major hots for her for a long time. She was actually a caretaker, specifically a maid, at his mansion, at his family's mansion, the Howlett Mansion, and her job was simply to cook, clean, and take care of the household and such like that. Logan was a very sick boy, so she also had to tend to him a lot and take care of him with medicines and all types of things like that. Unfortunately for Logan, his only friends were the caretakers, the groundskeeper's son, Logan, and Dog Logan specifically. His name was Dog because his father never gave him an actual name. But Dog Logan and Rose, his caretaker, essentially. Growing up, of course, this was before he officially hit puberty, and he was always sick. But then one night, through traumatic events, he hit puberty instantly because he witnessed Dog Logan's father blow his own father's head off. And thus Wolverine was born, because his claws were popped, his healing factor kicked in, and he murdered Dog Logan's father after he cut Dog Logan across the face. Rose, in a panic, grabbed him and took off after James's own mother eventually said, you know, you guys need to leave. He's a freak of nature. He's not my son anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then she killed herself too. Because it turns out his older brother, John Jr., was actually also a mutant, just like he was, and somehow they put him down permanently. They eventually ran away and found themselves in a coal mining camp where he went under the name Logan. From there, of course, he had just got into puberty, so he was starting to take an interest in girls, but he worked his ass off for many years, and they worked there and lived there for many, many years. As he got older, he took a great interest in Rose, who was essentially like his older sister that he lived with and he slept near and all that stuff. And sadly, that story comes to an inevitable end when James, as Logan, accidentally kills her in a fight with Dog Logan. So yeah, that's the basic, that's a very quick rundown of James Howlett / Logan's backstory and the reason he has an obsession with redheads. Continue, Smash.
That's okay. I'm trying to think where to go left with Deadpool. I guess, should we head into the spoiler territory?
Sure. I think at this point, the warning has been there. We've been kind of like lingering for a bit with it. Spoiler warning. I'm going to give you a few more seconds as I'm explaining this to basically get the fuck out and walk away now. Samaj and I are about to gush over a few spoiler things. We've already hinted at a few of them.
I will say one thing that spoiled this little particular thing for me was actually the soundtrack, because It came out on iTunes, and I thought, oh, hey, let's have a listen, see what some of the music is. And a particular song came up there, and the lyrics got to me. I'm going to horribly butcher some of these things, but I'm going to say what some of them are. Think of a dramatic movie, opera-ish singing, like the end of the world going, and you hear this chorus of people saying, "You can't stop him, this motherfucker. You can't stop him." Trying to think what else. Anyway, it's the Juggernaut. I buried the lead here. I'm the fucking Juggernaut. Juggernaut. Oh no, we're so fucked. It's the Juggernaut. He has a theme song. It's amazing.
He has a theme song that says "fuck" over and over again.
Holy shitballs! Holy shitballs! It's in the end credits if you sit around waiting for all the post credit scenes. It's in there. You'll hear it and be like, "This song is so good."
Yeah,
and it plays in the movie, but you can't hear it because there's all this action happening.
Yeah. But I do have to say this much. Juggernaut was awesome. Domino was awesome. Cable was awesome.
And we were maybe we should have mentioned this before the spoiler thing, but yeah, like Domino, like we were skeptical about it because the actor changed, and we weren't sure if it would be great. She was amazing. She did a great job. We were concerned, of course, like of the ethnicity change.
Yeah, I don't like it when the studios seem to make changes like that, and it feels like they're doing it for diversity's sake, or they're just trying to, pander to certain audience members. I don't like when you do that because it's like you're not paying homage to the actual source material. You're essentially saying the source material is wrong, blah, 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 blah. Gail Simone is currently trying to change the source material as much as she can, and it's pissing me the fuck off. But I'm not going to get into that right now. We can do that for another stream at another time. So when I saw that Domino was being played by a black chick, I was a little concerned. I eventually stopped being too concerned because I'm like, you know what? Iris surprised the shit out of me. I'm going to let this one hopefully surprise the shit out of me too. And then I noticed the vitiligo shit that they were doing for her eye. And I'm like, that's terrible. Don't do that. Just give her a black dot, for fuck's sake. Don't do the different color eye. Don't do the fucking vitiligo whitening around her eye and shit like that. It's stupid. It's not clever. It's fucking stupid. Don't do that. That's still the only thing I don't fucking like about that. That's it. And even then, it's not enough to make me hate Domino because my sassy mutant assassin chick was perfect on screen. Oh my God, I loved her so much.
She did a great job. So, like, I was sure that she might have done it, but she did do a great job. So I was happy with that. Let's see here. What else are we going to go into? Shatterstar. I actually really like Shatterstar. I wish he didn't die.
So he gets together an entire team of mutants plus Peter, with Zeitgeist, the Vanisher, two characters I think were just solely made for the fucking movie, or maybe they were throwaway characters that existed in the comic books, but they eventually killed off. Bedlam and Domino. Okay, these are the four people that get recruited onto the X-Force. In their very first mission, they parachute out of the back of a plane, and when they land, because none of them have ever done a drop before, and even Deadpool shows how much of an amateur he is.
Well, there was a wind warning.
There was a strong wind. Bedlam gets hit by a bus. The Vanisher gets pushed into a fucking active helicopter propeller and gets sliced the hell up. And they stuck to the fact that he actually comes from the Mojoverse. So instead of red, it's all green blood.
Well, his hair was in the way and all that. He breaks. When we first see him, he breaks about how, like, I'm from Mojo World, and that means I'm better than you at everything, except for landing, apparently.
Yeah, I couldn't stop. Well, here's the funny thing. Again, Shatterstar, character that Rob Liefeld actually created. No joke. The way he designed Shatterstar was he is better than Deadpool at everything. And then they changed Deadpool's character up sometime later and stuff. But yeah, the two of them were both dual sword wielding badasses who had a sort of healing factor, I guess. I can't remember what Shatterstar's official. Oh wait, no. He had some sort of other type of power. Anyways, the two of them were like these highly skilled badass sword fighters and shit like that. And Shatterstar is supposed to be better than Deadpool at that. But yeah, no, he can't land for shit because he gets just diced up.
Yeah, his pretty long hair got in his face and he couldn't do what he was doing or couldn't land properly. Also, Vanisher. It wasn't until he gets electrocuted do you see who he's played by, which happens to be like what, Brad Pitt?
It was Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt plays the Vanisher. Once again, we have a random cameo from Hollywood. God, fuck. Brad Pitt is the Vanisher, and he accidentally flies into electrical wires and dies from electrocution. Meanwhile, Zeitgeist goes the way of Fargo, feet first into a fucking wood chipper. Unfortunately, Peter tries to get him out, and Zeitgeist's power is he vomits acidic puke. And while he's being chopped up, he vomits all over Peter's right arm, which causes him to essentially die. And then Zeitgeist gets completely shredded up into the thing. Meanwhile, Domino lands where she's supposed to land.
Yeah. And then her luck power kicks in to get her onto the convoy safe and sound. And like what, hundreds of people die in the process?
Yes.
We don't know that because you don't see the bodies, but the destruction is intense.
Dude, I couldn't stop loving that entire thing because you think, based off of the previews, that we're going to see some badass fight scenes from Bedlam and Shatterstar, and then we get none of that. we don't get any of it.
Now, granted, I was slightly disappointed. I really want to see these people in action because, like, what? Who the fuck was the guy doing Bedlam again? The actor
Terry Crews.
Thank you, Terry Crews. Everyone fucking loves Terry Crews. He's Terry Crews. He's the Old Spice guy.
Exactly.
Goes out like a bitch. Everyone fucking goes out, with the exception of the main cast. Which is kind of cool because you see the trailers, you see them kicking ass, and they don't kick no ass. So that was good on their part. They fooled most people. Although I will say that previously there was some leaked scripts. 2 leaked scripts in particular, and they both had death scenes very similar to what we actually saw in the movie. So I was sort of expecting it. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but it happened.
Yeah. I think I may have just made the bitching witch extremely giddy.
Why?
Oh, because she and I have been, while you and I were talking about Deadpool too, talking a little bit about comic books, and the two of us apparently are both huge fans of X-Men and Wolverine specifically. And I said I could do an entire stream on the X-Men, Wolverine, and Gambit. And she wants to she would love to be on that stream if I actually did it, which I am planning on doing on my own channel. I'm gonna bring back Brockus Talks at some point in the near future, probably on a Thursday. Maybe a Thursday evening, because I don't think I'm doing anything on the cunt stream on that Thursday, whatever the case is. But yeah, I'll bring back Brockus Talks, and I'll probably bring it back with the anime show first, and then followed up with another comic book stream where I talk about all things X-Men and Marvel and such like that.
Yeah, why not? And we'll have to also speculate on X-Men and how they're going to get incorporated to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know that's going to happen.
Yeah, very true. And of course, when I actually do those streams, Samaj, obviously you have an automatic fucking, invite to all my nerd streams.
Okay, cool, awesome. Always good to talk X-Men. Fucking love them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing at the fucking fat kid throughout the entire movie.
Russell?
Yes.
Yeah, Russell. I actually like Russell. He's a pudgy kid who thinks he's bigger than he is and all that. But I actually found him to be quite an entertaining little kid.
Yeah, I think what I especially loved about it. Okay, so not a lot of people know this about me, although I have talked about it quite a few times. I am such a huge fan of comic books that I actually have several comic book character ideas in my head that I eventually want to actually put to paper and create an actual comic series all on my own. Two of them already have their own characters and universes and stuff like that. I've got it all in my head. I've drawn a lot of them out. I have backstories for everybody. I have names for everybody, so on and so forth. I even modeled them after both the Marvel and DC universe. I call the Marvel one the M1 universe, based off of this is the first comic book universe I went in depth with, hence the 1, and Marvel, hence the M. And then the D2 universe is essentially, you can figure that out. It's DC heavy, and it's the second one I went in depth with. Some time ago, however, I actually started talking to some friends in a comic book group that I actually am a part of still. And one of them said if they were a comic book character, if we were to ever make comic book characters based on us, he wanted his superpower to be, he wanted to be very strong, and he wanted to have hot, but like he wanted to basically like heat up his hands and create fire and shit like that. So when I saw Russell, this little fat kid who has that exact power, I couldn't stop chuckling because the entire time I'm thinking, oh my God, they did it. They made a character. They actually made him interesting and cool. Like, now I know how to execute the character if I ever actually do anything with it. But what's funny is it's a little fat Mexican kid named Russell. The guy who actually created the Hot Hands character, he's a white dude. He's got 2 kids, and he's a relatively average height white man. And I'm just like, I swear to God, dude, I think they've been reading our conversations.
So I did want to say that the one thing I was most excited about with this movie was also the greatest letdown. And that's actually the Juggernaut himself. And it's not anything about like the Juggernaut, like the actor who plays him, or how the character model looks. I think he looks great. My problem is, well, one, you have to see it, and then if you see it a couple times, you might not be able to unsee it. Mm-hmm. But you only get to see him talk once. The rest of the time, the camera doesn't focus on him. And the first time you actually do see him move, like with his lips and everything, you only get to see him halfway through a sentence. It's weird. It's very weird. And every other time when he's talking, you don't actually really see his face when he's talking. It's always off screen. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it bothered me the first time I saw the movie. And then I saw it again, and it's still there. And I just can't unsee it. And I don't know why. I think there was like some budget problems because he's a CG character. And they probably already spent a lot on Colossus because he has a lot more speaking roles and all that in this movie. Mm-hmm. Which it's fine because Colossus, to me, stole the first movie because he was so good. So fucking good. That, and also that being said, the fight between him and Colossus, which should have been like the most epic fight in the whole movie, had really weird editing and panning issues where there again, you mostly see Colossus. You don't see the Juggernaut. You might see him hit the wall, but most of the fight they edit out and go to other characters and see their fights. It's like, now we're gonna see the Juggernaut Colossus. They're gonna fucking go at it, and then they cut to this other thing. I'm like, I was very disappointed with that, and I felt gypped. I really felt gypped, especially considering in the first movie, the fight between Colossus and Angel Dust, that lasted a lot longer, and you saw a lot more. And I thought, oh, they learned the lesson from that movie. They'll do the same thing with the second one. No.
I liked the fact that that I got a fight I've been wanting to see on screen for many years. Because aside from being a Wolverine and Gambit fan, some of my favorite X-Men are actually Colossus, Iceman. I also enjoy Cyclops, Cannonball, Bishop, Cable. There's a huge list of X-Men that I'm actually a fan of, and I'm one of the few fans of Jean Grey. I think it's mostly because of the whole Phoenix Force story arc and everything like that. But I actually am a fan of Jean Grey. I do like her character. I don't like her in X-Men Red. What they're doing with her now, it's fucking ridiculous. But the fact that I got to see Colossus versus Juggernaut, that made me happy. But I do agree with you. I kind of wanted more out of that fight. I wanted a little more Colossus versus Juggernaut, not just Colossus versus Juggernaut for a few seconds, cut over to Deadpool and Cable. Colossus and Juggernaut for a few seconds, cut over to Negasonic and Yukio. Colossus and Juggernaut, and then it ends. That's how it felt.
And the other thing about that made it kind of cheaped out is because, and there was nothing to really show this, because when Colossus makes his appearance, you don't see how it happened. He just sort of appeared while Deadpool had a spear through his head, and he's just sort of like all fuzzy in the head. But like, how did he get there? He didn't drive there. He obviously would have had to have taken a plane or something. But then the plane arrives afterwards, and then Negasonic and Yukio come out to restrain the Juggernaut. I'm like, wait, so what happened here? Did you just fly by, drop off Colossus, fly away, and then you came back afterwards? What was that all about?
I think that's probably what it was. You didn't see it, but most likely Colossus did actually jump out of the Blackbird, flying over the building itself and such like that. I think that's probably what did actually happen. I think another thing that, if I'm really going to be nitpicky about it, the fact that Juggernaut actually lost that fight in that way, it's a little bit of a letdown, because it's the Juggernaut. You don't just make the Juggernaut look like a bitch like that. That I don't know.
And not only that, I mean, in order for the fight to be won, Colossus had to fight dirty. And I'm like, I could see it doing that out of desperation. And it didn't quite feel like he was all that desperate yet. But there again, I mean, they cut away from the fights so often that it was hard to get any gravitas or any feeling like this is a desperate situation. Now, I do know that this movie had heavy reshoots, and something tells me they added Juggernaut at the last minute.
Possibly.
Because also we get to see his ass, and that didn't look like a natural ass.
No.
So that looked like a heavy CG ass. And something about it didn't quite fit right. So part of me is thinking this fight between Colossus and Juggernaut was sort of a last minute thing.
Yeah, I think they probably meant to use another character. Like, if you actually look at the way he's built, Juggernaut in the movie, I think they were originally supposed to use Strong Guy. But Strong Guy is not a villain, so they probably were thinking, well, who else is big like this and we could use in this type of fight? Oh, what about the Juggernaut? Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I think you're right that maybe they did kind of throw in the Juggernaut last minute. Just because, like, when you actually think about the power scaling between Colossus versus Juggernaut, the Juggernaut is beyond Colossus's strength capabilities. In fact, they multiple times in the comic books had Colossus fight the Juggernaut, and Colossus consistently lost, even though Colossus continues to get stronger as the time goes on and everything like that. The Juggernaut is still at peak strength capabilities up until the Sidorak is the Sidorak crystal is removed from him, and then eventually Colossus has it and becomes the new Colossus Knot.
Yeah, I mean, my problems towards the end was just the cuts and the pan away from the fight scenes. That was for me like the most disappointing part. Like, in an era where, like, with CG being as good as it is, like when we had like Thor versus the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok, I mean, that was such an epic fight. It was amazing. My expectations were I wanted an epic fight scene, and that's not what we got. We got heavy cuts. Not the greatest CGI, and last minute characters jumping in to save the day that probably should have been there from the beginning with Colossus. It seemed so bizarre that I couldn't quite grasp. And that's really the part that made the movie such a disappointment to me. It's not the movie overall was a disappointment. Certain elements don't feel right. Now, with that said, though, I have been hearing that Deadpool 2, when it comes out on DVD, is only going to get a deluxe extended edition. I'm hearing that they're not going to release a standard edition, which makes me think they're probably going to invest a lot more money in the DVD, and they're probably going to fix up some of these issues and clean them up, because I'm pretty sure part of the reason this movie is out the way it is because they needed to reach a deadline, and it sort of feels that way, especially if the rumors of no standard. It's like what you see in theaters, you're not going to get that when you buy the movie. It's like that won't be available.
Yeah, true.
So, and that's just a rumor I've been hearing. But if that's true, well, then maybe there's some hope, because maybe that I will get that fight scene I've been looking for. Maybe I will get that epic moment. Maybe all those. Yeah.
I would love an extended fight scene on that.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get that. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Because I don't know, but they might not even give a rat's ass, because from what I've also heard, this movie is done so well, it's like knocked out the Avengers in sales, which is interesting to say the least. I actually didn't think it would. I think it might have come close, but I think at this point it's like it's now Deadpool, then Avengers, and then Black Panther for best-selling superhero movie.
Yeah. I still stand by what I said earlier, though. Deadpool 2 is probably, it is still better than the first one. And I think the reason why I can still make that judgment is, even if I go into the nitpicky details about characters, power scaling, this and that, it's a Deadpool movie. If you didn't watch the first one, you need to understand that this is not going to be a movie that is meant to be taken super seriously, or that it's going to have real depth to it. It's for fun. I mean, there's going to be elements that don't make any goddamn sense, and it's because it's a Deadpool movie. So, like, try to put it on the same scale as like the Avengers. Don't do that.
Yeah, you can't really do that, especially considering that it's a very different kind of movie. But also, I mean, a lot of things aren't going to really matter, because if you pay attention to the end credit scenes, like the Yukio and Negasonic repair the time travel thing, and they give it to Wade, and then he goes around and he does all kinds of stuff. Like, we know that his girlfriend doesn't die because he saved her at the last minute with the cream cheese spreader, which was amazing. But then if he did that, then the movie would have been different. But time travel, that's a thing. And I do know that they did confirm that there was supposed to be another one at the very end where Deadpool goes back in time, he finds baby Hitler, and he picks him up and he just shakes him violently. I wish they kept that in, but they took it out. Rumor is they're going to put it into the DVD. So
yeah, but here's the thing, though. One thing that people tend to not understand or realize when it comes to specifically the time travel with the X-Men, the reason why Bishop and Cable are able to actually stay in the past as they are and continue to manipulate the past that would normally have sent them into the past. I got to go and fix this thing. And they fix this thing, whatever the case is. That you would think that the paradox would actually happen, and all of a sudden now they get sucked back into their time, blah, 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 whatever. No. Here's the problem that people tend to forget, especially in the X-Men universe. So long as they have those quantum time devices that they have, those little watches or those bracers that allow them to time travel and all that stuff, so long as they have those and it's still active, they will not get sucked through time, to which the paradox would happen because blah, blah, whatever, this and that. So the reason why Deadpool would have been able to pull off all of those things without actually changing the actual events of Deadpool 2 is because as long as he has that fucking watch, boom, there you go. The problem is that once he removes the watch, or once he's no longer using the watch, or it's no longer active, that's when all of a sudden you have a big goddamn problem. But that's something that they probably weren't thinking too far ahead with, and don't necessarily need to.
I guess not. I mean, who knows what's going to happen now with all this time travel shenanigans? But we all know that time travel shenanigans was a staple since Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, like, okay, so nothing really matters. But with that said, though, if a reboot happens with the Marvel Universe, maybe it won't be that big a deal. And if time travel is to be believed from the next Avengers movie, well, oh boy. I mean, it gives you an option to bring in mutants in some form, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I hope they don't do time travel, but we'll see. You have to incorporate mutants somehow.
Yeah, true.
That's a lot of speculating. I don't know how they would do it. We know X-Men are going to play a big factor in future movies, so
true.
So I'm not sure. Have we done everything from Deadpool?
I think we covered quite a bit of Deadpool without giving too much away on the spoilers end.
Well, we gave away a fair bit, that's for sure. Like the big moments, and I have my nitpick.
I wouldn't exactly say we did give away the big moments. We simply talked about certain characters. We talked about a little bit of a fight, a character reveal, yes, but like there's still, how everything comes about from the beginning all the way to the end, and all this good stuff in between and everything like that. We didn't go into too much detail. I would say we spoiled about 50% of the movie, but not the entire movie.
Okay. All right. Like my end score, go see Deadpool. It's good, still a good movie. I have my nitpicks with it, but I still think it's worth a watch.
Yeah, at some point, there's always going to be those things that might cause people to actually, nitpick and this and that. I basically went in knowing that I was just going to have a really dumb, fun adventure with Deadpool 2. So when I walked out of the movie, I pretty much got exactly what I came there for.
Oh, I did also want to say, did you see the music video with Deadpool? And who was it? Celine Dion?
No.
No? Okay. Well, he does a music video because there's that song at the opening credits. And I think it's the same woman who does the song for the Titanic. It full on like actual music video, except they have Deadpool behind her doing all this sexy dancing. And they actually get a dancer to go out there and do all the moves and whatnot. Fucking amazing. And then Deadpool towards the end, he's like clapping at her and going, "Oh, that's beautiful, but we got to do it all over again." And she's like, "Okay, why?" He's like, "Well, this is like, we're just a silly comedy, okay? Yeah, and this whole performance there, this is like an 11 out of 10. We need you to get down to like maybe a 7. So can you tone it down?" And she goes, "Listen, Spider-Man, I always am an 11. All right, I don't do 7." And then just walks off.
That's too fucking good.
It's really good. It's worth a watch. It's everything you need, everything you expect it to be. I don't know how they got her, but they did it. Okay.
Careful planning, maybe? I don't know.
I think that it's just a lot of love for the original movie. I also think Ryan Reynolds is a lovable guy. It's a little hard to hate him.
That's very true. Yes, that is actually quite accurate.
Unless you're talking about Green Lantern, in which case it's okay to hate him for that.
That, yes.
Which they retcon in Deadpool, by the way. But you'll have to watch the movie to find out how they do it.
God damn it, dude. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up at this point.
All right, then.
Yeah, we've been going on for almost 3.5 hours now, so I think this is a good point to leave off on. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the cunts. All right, cunts. This has been the Han Solo. We had Igor from Renovations. Go ahead and go over to Renovations, the channel, and check it out. They do a lot of good stuff. They stream while watching really stupid people doing stupid things and saying stupid things. We also had Jig and Political on earlier. Of course, myself and Samaj. We're here talking about Thundercats, Deadpool 2, and a little bit of Avengers 4. Not that much. Mostly just Deadpool 2, Thundercats, and even a shitload of fucking X-Men.
Yeah.
All right, cuz take it easy and get the fuck out.